It's clobbering time!
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
Clobberanimo!
Greetings, welcome, clobberers and clobberanimos and clobberooskies and clobberettes and all clobbing. It's all the clobbing. I messed it up. Our timing with the we did not work out that
Hey,
well.
did you know that it happened again? I didn't get to
What?
see any of the pre-show stuff except for Clobberanimo.
Really? I ran the credits and your commercial and all that stuff. What the hell?
I don't know. Like, I don't know how many times this has been now. Like, maybe at least 5 or 6. I'm going to report it to StreamYard. See what's going on.
StreamYards has been goofy. A lot of people keep saying they're getting irritated with StreamYards. They say so.
Well, at least it's happened to me so many times now that I didn't like unmute my mic and go, "Is everything okay? Is everything
yeah,
all
like
right?"
last. Oh yeah.
At least this time I knew.
Ouch.
Nope, this is just StreamYard acting up. I'm just gonna wait it out.
Well, dang. Thank you for being here, everybody. Welcome to CLOBBY'S Clubhouse number 56.
What are we at? Yeah, 56.
56-ish or somewhere about there. And Clobber.
56 shows.
Clobbering times 466, although that's only on YouTube. That's a YouTube number. The true long time number since 2009 is Clobbering times 1,166. And tonight's the Clubhouse.
Wow.
And our good buddy Mark D with a C is on an away mission, so he will not be joining us at the Clubhouse this evening. But we salute him wherever he is and hope he is having a wonderful night. Being busy. We will shout out everybody in a second. Let's go. We'll start out with some show notes, everybody. And first and foremost, I want to thank everyone who joined us Monday night in celebrating the life and, of course, paying tribute to the sad tragic news that we got the other day of the loss of the great Kevin Conroy. We will always hail him at Clobbering Times. And then I want to thank everyone on about a joyous occasion that we all spent this past Tuesday night celebrating the new book of our wonderful, beautiful first officer, Commander R.M. Briggs, her science fiction tales, short stories.
I cannot believe how many people turned up for that.
What a
That was
crowd
just
we had.
that was amazing. And over 110 people so far have viewed that
Yes.
video, and I don't even know how to thank you all. Like, here I thought it would be the most boring topic, and you would
Oh,
all
no,
of
no,
your
no.
eyes would glaze over, and you're like, what is this crazy woman doing? And you guys are just the best friends ever. I love you all very much. Thank you so much for for helping me to promote my book, for buying my book, supporting my stories. I love you all very much. Thanks, everyone.
Love you, and we all love that crazy woman. Stay crazy, woman. We love you. And I want to thank everyone for hanging out with me last night, talking all things Real Submariner. Pretty much the Submariner strikes back against that horrific, horrible portrayal that Hollywood has heaped upon this 83-year-old character, this classic character. And a big shout out and thank you to a friend who is in the chat there, the great Lord Thoth.
Yeah.
LT, thank you so much for hanging out with me last night. Dude, it was so much fun. I really appreciate it. We must do it again soon. And of course, shout out to the lovely Lady Thoth. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. And of course, the great Mark did with us. We had fun hanging out with him also.
Yeah.
Show notes. Tomorrow night, I should be hanging out with my great buddy Nick Weiser over on his channel for the comic shop with the Friday night comic shop gang. So we're just doing some open comics talk. That should be fun. Then Saturday night, as always, Saturday night Star Trek.
Dun, dun, dun.
9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Same clubby time, same Trek channel, or vice versa. I don't know. I got it mixed up. 4 more episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, getting toward the end of season 3.
Yeah.
In our ongoing mission to review all of For Real Star Trek 66 through 05, the 735 Club forever.
That's right. Lord
then,
Thoth says, my pleasure, sir. Lord Thoth.
Thank you, buddy.
In the pre-show, Clubby and I were just catching up, talking, and he was telling me about what a great time he had with you and Mark D last night.
It was just spectacular, as always. Big shout out, of course, to the great Tom at Tom's Midnight's Edge. The wonderful Six, who was here, by the way. Love you, Six.
Hey.
Our buddy Nick was there, buddy Script Doctor was there, and I was very privileged and proud to meet for the first time the great Mr. Paul Chato, who is a great YouTuber. Anyone must check out Call Me Chato, his channel over there. He's great, very entertaining, and a spiffing bloke. He was really cool. It was good to meet him. So I had a good time there at Midnight's Edge tonight. Monday. Well, actually, Sunday, of course. Don't forget the Sunday Night Geekery on Mark D's channel, Mark D with a C, our engineer's channel. We'll be geeking out there, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Monday, we have a Clobbering Times double feature for you. In the early hours, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 Eastern, the great J-Man will join me for a CLOBBERIN Classic Comics review. I'm going to be probably causing a lot of mass insanity here, because I'm going to introduce you to the bonkers bananas world of Bob Haney. The crazy, this comic book, I suggest you read it at your own risk, but we're going to dare to review it. One of the wackiest comics in the history of all of wacky comics, Brave and the Bold number 124 from 1976. Bob Haney with the great artist Jim Aparo, and one of my favorite titles of that period, Brave and the Bold. And Batman and Sergeant Rock. It's just, if you haven't read this one, buckle up, because we're going to review it. Then, of course, a few hours later, I'll go with the standard open Monday Night Mark C Comics talk. All hail our dear departed friend Mark C. So, and then Wednesday night, next Wednesday night, the 23rd is, of course, the anniversary of my beloved Doctor Who.
Wow.
Doctor Who show. And every Doctor Who anniversary, I like to celebrate it. Last year, I ranked, I think for Christmas, I ranked all the Christmas specials. Or maybe I did it for Thanksgiving or for the Doctor Who anniversary. I can't remember anymore. But this time, I've decided next Wednesday night, I will rank all of the Doctor Who intro Doctor episodes. What are those? The episode that introduced the new Doctor, in other words, obviously.
Okay.
Each Doctor, all the legit 12 of them, have had stories that introduce them to us. And so it's always a transition type of an episode where, it's not, always the episode after that is where you can start to get to know what that Doctor's going to be like. But it's always a rough road to get them there after a usually traumatic regeneration. So I'm going to rank the episodes that first introduce us to a new Doctor.
Well, I'm counting on Eric K and Chris Persia to make sure that they are asking in the chat who's on third, who's on second, and who's on first.
And what's on?
Please do that
All of
for
them.
Abbott
Who's.
Costello and yours
Indeed.
truly.
Indeedisness. Well, got to pay love to Doctor Who. That is the 59th anniversary of the show. That even though it's been
59.
destroyed.
Oh, wow.
Yep, we're a year away from the big 60. I can't, by the bear in mind, I have my chat pulled back everyone, so I can't see who's popped in yet. Now we're going to say our hellos.
Well, before we say our hellos, boss, I just want to say that there is some conversation developing in the chat, which leaves me to believe that Eric K is up to his usual tricks. He's gone and purchased a bunch of new memberships, and folks are picking those memberships up right now.
Nice.
So I just want to extend
Thank
a thank
you,
you to Eric K. We love you so much, honey. Thank you so much for helping to grow our crew and for supporting this channel. And everyone, if you are picking up those new memberships, please make sure to thank the great Eric K, our illustrious bronze wrencher.
Bronze wrencher. Thank you, Eric K. Appreciate that, my brother. Thanks, buddy. You're too kind, man. And anyone, if you are not a member, we love we would love for you to avail yourself of that free membership. Thank you so much, and appreciate it. So thanks again, Eric, the great Eric K. And of course, we also say hello.
Those memberships also have value. They're a ton of fun. We have special emoji sets here that you can have fun with. You can have one-on-one or behind-the-scenes chats with Clobby, with our captain, who is a subject matter expert, a lifetime in comics and popular culture. So lots of goodies to be had. So membership has its privileges, folks. Go ahead and pick those up. Thank you so much, Eric K.
Thank you, buddy. Chris Persia, the Vindicator Wrench of the North, my good friend. Good to see you there, buddy. I can't see the chat, but I always shout out our three big wrenches there. We have other people who wrench, and we appreciate all of you. D-Bud, the man of iron himself, the wrench of iron, I should say. Tuska got robbed. I think Apollome's minion is here, so let's say hello to the pupper.
The pepperoni.
I had nothing to hit with anything at the time. So
Six is flirting with you. She says, I'd like a one-on-one with Clobby, and then she has a little winky face. Oh my.
Anytime, my dear. Oh my. I love you, Six. And anytime. I would love to. Let's see here. Yes, indeed. Flirt right back at you.
That's right.
Gwagnar's here.
I can't do it.
Don't do it. You can't do it.
Let me try.
No. Don't do it. Your voice is messed up. You're going to hurt yourself. I'll do it. Gwagnar. You have to settle for that gwag because Raquel shouldn't. I've tried to tell her to go relax and not even be here tonight. She won't listen to me. She's insubordinate because she's not feeling well at all. Just like Tom wasn't feeling well, and he did the show anyway. And I tried to tell her. She won't listen, so she's here. Against orders.
I'm here.
Yeah. Against doctor's order. Well, captain's orders anyway.
Well, I slept just so I could be on the show tonight.
I'm just glad. I love that you're here, but I want you to take care of yourself. So if
I'm
you can't
napping
be, it's
like
not
a 5-year-old.
Of course. JT Kirk. What's up, buddy? Good to see you, my friend. Maddie's daddy, Steve. What's up, bro?
Steve, hi, sweetheart.
Good to see you. The aforementioned great Lord Thoth, and hello to Lady Thoth, buddy.
Oh, hello, Thoth, Lord and Lady.
Lemon pie.
Lemon
Good to see you.
pie.
Thanks for being here.
I could sure go for some lemon pie right now.
Of course. Ironhide 84. Hello there, Ironhide.
Hi,
welcome,
Ironhide.
my friend. Cal L. Buddy. Stephen M. is here.
A real soup. Hey,
Real
baby.
super. Let's see here. Again, the aforementioned lovely Six. It was got to hang out with Six tonight over there at Tom's. I appreciate you being here, my dear.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay, so far I'm seeing all the same names, but I'm trying to scroll down to the chat. I ever said J-Man, didn't I? Did I say J-Man?
No,
J-Man.
I don't think you said J-Man
is
yet.
here.
J-Man.
This thing jumped on me, J-Man. Sorry. The great J-Man, my good buddy, who, of course, will be here with me Monday night early for the big early feature reviewing Brave and the Bold 124. Then we'll both be carted off to the loony bin after that one. Let's see here. Let's see here. Oh, let me just make sure I got everybody, folks. So we'll get on with it. I'm not sure what we'll get on with, but we will get on with whatever.
Oh my
Let's
goodness,
see here.
Hungry Boy. What a beautiful name. I love you.
Hungry for the best female author to take Poe's crown. Nice. Well done. Classic Comics. What's up, bud?
Hey, Classic Comics. Hungry Boy, I love you, honey.
Good to see you. Let's see here. Just for that, I'm going to spare him a tripwire tonight. Just kidding. I'm not. I'm going to do it.
Did you see
Only
the
if there
way
is
that
one,
Nick
though.
Weiser freaked out when he saw Hungry Boy's painting for the book?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he's
What
like,
happened?
"Oh my God, that's incredible."
I
Nick
didn't see
loved
that.
it. Yeah.
Yes, Ezra Goldstein. Hello there. Welcome. Shalom.
Hi, Ezra. How are you,
Says
sweetheart?
shalom there. Good to see you, Ezra. Let's see here. I think I'll make sure I got everybody.
Cam's crash courses. Just walked through the door. And so did PvP.
Pleasant Valley. What's up, duder? Let's see. Almost to the bottom. I'm almost to the bottom of things. Yeah. I think that's it.
Did you get to the bottom of it?
Not particularly, but I think I may have missed some. Thing jumped on me because I didn't see some of the people you mentioned, but I guess they're here, so it's all that matters. All right. Well, anyone else who pops in, of course, as always, we like to. There we go. We like to acknowledge them, and we shall. We shall. So, thank you all for being here tonight, everybody. We really do appreciate. As you all know, on the clubhouse, it's usually mostly anything goes. If we have a few things for you. Raquel has some nice topics for you, but we kind of sometimes just kind of wing it. Mark won't be here tonight, so we won't be as long a show. But because again, Raquel's not feeling well, no matter what she says, and we want want her to feel better because we got a big epic. We got a big epic to do Saturday night, don't we?
Gonna be fun.
Yeah. So why don't we? All right. Let me tell you what, Hungry Boy. Let's just get it out of the way. Let's see if there's a tripwire.
Oh no. And Eric K says, I watched a Bewitched episode today, the one that Adam West was in.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah, I think that's what he means. He says, I watched a Bewitched today. Adam West was in a episode, but that's just, it's the thing is that Eric cooks sometimes and he uses the voice to text. What he means to say is he watched the episode of Bewitched that had Adam West in it.
Nice.
Eric, I've been getting a lot of stuff from Julie Newmar now because of the video. So the algorithm is producing lots of stuff for Julie Newmar. And I was a kid in the 70s. So this was the stuff that I watched. But you know what? I saw today that Julie Newmar was on Bewitched and they called it a racy episode. I don't even remember Julie Newmar being on Bewitched.
She was. I think she was on an episode of Bewitched. If I
remember and they were calling it like scandalous or whatever. And I was just too sick. I had to have a nap. So I didn't read the article, but that populated today. And I was like, I need to look into that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I can't remember the Adam West one at the moment, but I'm sure I've seen it at some point. Adam West was on a lot of stuff back then. Let's see.
And while we're talking about Eric K, honey, what did you cook today? And if you send me any more pictures of fried chicken, I'm going to die. I'll melt.
Well, we have a tripwire for you. Hungry Boy, look.
Oh, no.
Okay, let me set this up for those who don't know. I mean, most people know what tripwire is now. But let's just set those up for our friends who don't know what it is. You all know here that I'm clobbering times, so I'm definitely a comic book centric geek channel. I'm a big time comic book fanatic. I don't claim to be a fanatic.
You guys, he's a bona fide subject matter expert. The guy is the grand poobah of all of geekdom.
I would not agree with that. I know nothing. But I've set that up. I say that simply so I'll let everyone know for anyone new here that we talk comics a lot here. And I'm a big fan of comic book art. Excuse me. I spilled too much. I spilled water.
Oh no. Be careful.
If it destroys something, I'll let you know. Anyway. So Tripwire, a former magazine. And I mean that probably literally and figuratively, because I don't think they print hard copies anymore. They used to, I believe. Anyway, they're a British magazine, a geek magazine. They're now online, so but they were a magazine, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
Over the past year or so, they have been they started an audacious, I'd say, sorry, article or a series of articles, I guess you should call it, or a regular feature. Let's try to get close to journalistic terms if we can. I know I'm terrible at that sort of thing. By the way, first, JT Kirk gives a super chat. I want to thank you for that, sir. He says, after months of waiting, I finally got my ISOM number 1.
Oh, good.
Do I open and read it or keep it in the bag? You open and read it. That's what it's for, buddy.
Open and read it. You open and read it. You
Yes.
open and read
And
it.
I think he knows that.
And do you remember JT Kirk when you helped
you
the
read.
boys encourage me to open up my Star Trek Golgi and just to look at them? And do you remember my reaction, the way they smelled and how beautiful
Right.
they were inside and how I freaked out?
Open those.
Although always, you got to be careful of that back tape. If it's bagged and boarded, be careful.
Right.
You don't want to get
Open.
tape on it.
Yes, in this case it won't, because this is not bagged and boarded the same way. This is
How do they
ordered.
ship them when they're not bagged and
I
boarded?
mean it's wrapped up nicely. You say it's not like a bagging the board back issue type of thing.
Yeah.
So yes, it's to be read. That's what it's for, buddy, not to be collected. So but I think he knows that. I think he's just kidding.
Oh, he
Anyway.
says, book smelling. Yeah, we'll read it.
So this article, excuse me, this recurring feature over the past year or so in Tripwire online magazine, it is entitled "The 101 Greatest Comics Artists of All Time." Well, right there, I'm like, hey, you didn't consult me, so anyway, but anyway, so we've been taking a look at that. We've been following that. Let's say by the time I found out about it, they were down to like number 54. They were counting down from 101, and their placement on this list, to say the least, has infuriated me on occasion.
And it's caused Hungry Boy to have to take extra
right.
high blood pressure medication. Good evening, Zathras.
Zathras, what's
Can
up? Can
somebody please do the crap for him, please?
Crap. He knows what he knows. The voice is not there, so don't worry about it. Anyway, so we're gonna get this done quick. Don't worry. We're now down to the top 10, and by the way, almost none of the artists listed on this in this top 101 do I have any kind of a problem with them being there so much as the placement that I take issue with. Granted, it's all opinion. I don't know and they don't tell you who's making these decisions, by the way. Really. They have not released, and maybe they will later, what their vetting process is or any of that kind of stuff. Tripwire's BuzzFeed for comics says
sorry, I had to put that up. I love that.
That's a pretty good insult too, because BuzzFeed. So yeah, anyway, it's their placement that I've had issues with. Now, once we got into the top 20 and the top 15, most of the people have been very worthy to be there, whether you disagree with their placement or not in comic books history. But I have not had a quibble with anyone in this top 10 until now. The gentleman that I'm about to look, Hungry Boy, I know you don't sit down much.
Honey, hide under your desk.
For example, last week they had we're at number 7, by the way. Last week they had Will Eisner at number 8. You can't fault Will Eisner being in the top 10. He could have been higher. There's no question about it. And Lou Fine was in the top 10. I mean, their top 10 so far has been admirable. This is a gentleman who I like. I like a lot of his work, mostly mainly based on his writing, though. As a comic book artist, he does not belong in the top 10. I'm going to behave myself. As a comic book artist, this gentleman is not. First of all, they've had George Perez, hit O'Brien, Hepburn. They had George Perez at 46 or something, which is ridiculous. This comic book artist here is very popular. Now I'm starting to think this is a popularity contest, but it can be. They've had some obscure people on here. It's just mind-boggling that this person is at number 7, and I like a lot of his work and dislike a lot of his work. So, are we ready? Are we going to just go ahead and do this now?
We're ready. Chris, be careful while you're doing that, please. I know that's a pretty standard thing to do, but it's still dangerous. Please be careful.
Hungry Boy, I don't know how to break this to you, too, because I don't think you're going to like this. Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Michelle O'Rourke, Johansson, everyone. It's here. Good to see you. Sent you something on. Oh, well, I got you. I haven't been able to do much of anything right now, Michelle. I've been busy on some streams and stuff. So I'll take a look later. Thank you so much.
Oh, I believe it is a picture
But good to
of
see everyone.
her
Say hello to
daughter.
Michelle. Oh, one of you. Oh, okay. Good. Well, I will take a look when I can, my dear. Thank you. And it's good to see you. And I hope you are doing well. And I hope you and your family are doing well. So, Hungry Boy, I don't really know how to do this, man. Hit me with it. I took my pill.
I'm scared how the two of you are going to react to this. I'm actually frightened.
This is someone whose work some of the stuff I've loved. He's done is brilliant, but it's almost mostly his writing. I'm just don't know how to say this to you, man. Mr. Angel, hello there.
Hi, sweetheart.
Welcome, sir.
How are you?
Chef, I hope you're doing well.
Hey, Lisa.
Hope you're doing well, my friend.
It's nice to meet you, Lisa. I don't think I've met you before. Welcome.
Oh, hey, Lisa. She was here last night.
Oh, wonderful.
Lisa, welcome. We're just about to. Great to see you. So, all right. So here we go. This is number 7. Again, I set it up for everybody who doesn't know. We do this every week. We're following this article every week for over a year now. Haven't had a problem too much with some of this top 10, but here we go at number 7. Hungry Boy, dude. We're gonna get through this. Captain James T. Skywalker, hello there.
Hey, Skywalker.
I know. Look, I'm keeping thoughts in suspense. Okay,
I know.
Number 7.
Oh boy.
Frank Miller.
Oh.
Frank Miller is number 7. Look, I love Frank Miller. No, Byrne was 25. Skywalker.
Whoa.
I love Frank Miller. I love a lot of his work. He's not the number 7th all-time greatest comic artist.
What?
His comic art, in fact, has been. Well, let's take a look.
Uh-oh.
I don't even know. See, I don't even know what examples they've pulled.
I'm just going to put this up on the marquee. Right? Oop. Look at this on the marquee. Oh boy.
Oh,
boy.
I knew he wouldn't.
And Guagnar's freaking out. Look at Guagnar's reaction.
Yeah, Frank Miller. Look. Let's all be clear. Let's respect Frank Miller, but art does not belong in the top 10. Not his art, his writing. He's written some of the best stories, and some really bad ones. Okay, and then again, they're showing some of his old Marvel art and his old covers. They were fine.
Mr. Angel's now freaking out. Captain James T. Skywalker is yelling no with superfluous exclamation points. Lord Voss says, no, make him 25. And Hungry Boy says, you all are so lucky I'm not on the microphone right now. And Stephen M. says, what the bleep?
Yeah, they're picking some good examples of some great work he's done. I love his Daredevil stuff. But this guy is not better than the guy they had after him. He's not better than Perez. He's not better than Will Eisner. He's not better than Joe Kubert and Wally Wood. And he's just not better. He's not he's not top 10 material.
Hungry Boy was saying the same thing you were. He says this is an artist list, not a G-damn writers list.
Yeah.
And 6 has left you a gift.
Oh, hey, 6. Thank you so much, my dear, for $10 super chat. You're too kind, my dear. Just ordered hardcover and paperback version of Raquel's new book. Oh my goodness. I'm going to donate one to my library. I'll keep this one, the one that smells better. Love you. Oh my goodness.
Oh my
6.
God. I love you
sweet.
So much. Do you want me to send you, I know you wanted an autograph copy. Do you want me to send you a letter snail mail? I can also send it to you digitally over Twitter. I handwrite a note. I did it for JT Kirk, a few people. I just handwrite a note to you using whatever name you want. And then I scan it on my scanner and then I can send it to you. I know you asked me about that. So I can do that for you, sweetheart. And that is incredible. Thank you so much, 6. I love you too. Sweet, sweet lady. Mwah, mwah, mwah. You are the best.
Thank you, 6. I really appreciate that.
What a sweetheart.
I love you. 6 is the best. Okay, look, and they're showing good examples of his work. I love his Daredevil work, but look, from this, he changed it to that Ronin style, which I think sucked. He changed this style, but even this style wasn't the best ever. He's a great storyteller. These people keep using the same stuff over and over again. Yes, his Daredevil is his best work. Actually, Mazzucchelli was better than him. Okay, now using his Wolverine stuff is kind of dirty pool because this Wolverine, these examples, these idiots don't understand. Most of this was done by Joseph Rubinstein. Miller did basic layouts. Rubinstein is responsible for this art right here. Now, then he goes to this Ronin crap. I don't like this Ronin art he did. This is when he changed his style drastically. And then, of course, Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, which is an overrated work, in my opinion, one of the most famous comics ever made.
That's a piece of crap. Can we go back to that Batman that you just showed there? That's a giant piece of crap. Look at that. That's crap.
That's probably the best. That's actually good compared to some of the other stuff he did in that
That's
book.
not good at all. I don't know that much about comics, but from what you guys have been teaching me about how comics are made, that's not a good Batman. Oh, that's not a good Batman.
And it's one of the biggest selling comic books of all time, and it brought Batman into the forefront.
Hungry Boy's throwing up in the chat.
I'm sorry, Hungry Boy. I didn't expect this, but I should have known, because when I saw Miller hadn't made the list yet, I was just...
What? You're expecting a baby, JT Kirk? Oh, that's wonderful, sweetheart. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations.
And thank you so much for supporting my work.
Thank you. They're going to show his Lone Wolf and Cub covers, which were fine. I mean, I like a lot of his work. Not Sin City so much. Okay, he just not belong at number 7. This is coming, and then look, they use garbage like this DK2, which is the worst shit ever. You guys are poo-poo.
How is that art? That's a silhouette of a glove. How's that like
sucks
exemplifying the greatest comic book art?
Let me check real quick to see if there's another entry for this week. Sometimes there's more than one entry. This was
JT Kirk says that this is the sea tongue pizza of Batman illustrations. He just called it clam pizza.
The sea tongue. Yeah. Okay. So there's no number. No, that's the only one for this week. So mercifully,
Ironhide called it digital barf.
Well, you did an argument out of me.
I love you guys. You guys best.
I hear you. So Tripwire smoking rope again. Absolutely. DK2 is digital. DK2 is just barf. It's the worst piece of shit ever. It's horrible. What were the list makers on? Yeah, because they were doing it. Look, I got to admit, in this top 10, in this top 20 even, they've been doing fairly well. Miller doesn't belong anywhere near the top 20 or 30. I'm sorry. It's fine. I mean, I love the guy. I love a lot of his writing. I love some of his art on those Daredevils and stuff. I didn't really like his Batman art too much, but he's done way worse than that. And he just doesn't belong there. All right, here we go. Steve says, at the risk of stating an unpopular opinion, I actually like the idea of The Dark Knight Returns, but its execution was poor, and making Superman a government stooge was awful. That's what I hated about it. That's the thing I hated most about it, Stephen. And yes, I have a lot of problems with the story of Dark Knight Returns. I think it's overrated. And it may put Batman on the map, but hardly in a good way, really. And DK2 is one of the worst comics ever freaking made, Hungry Boy.
Hungry Boy says that it's one of those poopy diapers I'm always talking about.
It's an insult to poopy diapers. Oh my goodness! So anyway, look, we got the tripwire out of the way quickly. Aren't you proud of us, Hungry Boy?
Yes.
Aren't you happy, Hungry Boy, that we got that out of there?
I just hope that Hungry Boy's going to survive this, and everyone else is just reeling. Mr. Angel thinks this is like complete crap. Ironhide hates it. James T. Skywalker, Gwagnar, Pleasant Valley Picker. Nobody likes this choice.
If they don't get number 1 right, it's going to be hell to pay. Not really, but
hell to pay.
When we get this all said and done, this list,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to do a stream where I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to recap what their list was. Then I'm going to put them in the proper order. I'm going to put them in the Clobby order. The Clobby cut of this freaking list will happen, and they can't dispute it because I'm right in there. Wrong. Just kidding. Just opinion. I know.
Before we move on to, I just want to say
Max Redstone.
Yes. Hello, Maximum Redstone. I just wanted to say to JT Kirk, Google Amazon would not send a proof of the hardback to Canada. So I've never laid my hands on the hard copy of my book. If that hard copy arrives and there are any errors in it, please let me know and I will send you a copy from Canada from me. It's my understanding that that there was some type of corrections delay, and of course, yeah, they don't send proofs to Canada. So I know that sounds bizarre. They'll
That's
publish my
crazy.
work, but they won't send proofs. So you let me know how that book arrives and if it's sexy and beautiful and perfect. I know that as of today, all of the changes have gone through, and of course, I complained. I was pretty upset about it because I put all of the information through on the 13th, and by the 15th, everything should have been ship shape. And I've been led to believe that it might not be. So you let me know if your book comes and if it looks gorgeous or not.
When the books start arriving, we're going to have everyone who has gotten it. We're going to have them on here and let them tell us how we're going to try to talk to everybody, get them to show us pictures and tell us. And we're going to get not something like not a review of content, just a review of how the book is. And if it's good, it's a nice package and all that stuff. Because I know you want to know that.
Well, I do, because I think it's weird that Amazon won't send it to Canada. Like, I think it should be standard that I should be allowed to see a proof of the hardcover.
Look.
Oh,
mine arrived today. So
how?
Boom.
Oh my goodness! How does it look?
How did he get one in Canada?
I don't know. I just and I also saw that there were okay, so when you publish a book with Amazon, you upload your docx file, and then they put it the platform transfers it into their printing format, right? And I noticed that there were two formatting errors that happen on their end, not my end, their end. And I was pretty cheesed off about it. So I put in for the corrections, and then they sat in review for like 24 hours. They didn't even put them through right away. And I was pissed off because, like, if I upload something, that they shouldn't be shifting things around, or there shouldn't be faults to their font process, right? Especially when you're sending it to them default. So now I'm nervous, and I didn't get to see that proof. So if anybody doesn't get what they were looking for, they need to tell me right away.
Yeah, J-Man, if you got yours, that's crazy. Just let us know is it does it look good? Does it feel good? Does it look in a good package or whatever?
Yeah, how does it look?
Let us know. Let us know how it feels and looks.
Oh, Six, I love you. You're so kind to me. You're just such a loyal and wonderful friend, Six. Thank you so much.
Six rules. Let's see here.
Yeah, Pleasant Valley Picker says it's bizarre that you can't see a proof of your own book, Raquel. Amazon is out to lunch. Yeah, and I think it's because Amazon doesn't they don't print. Amazon Canada doesn't print hardbacks. I don't think that the hardbacks are available in Australia either. But oddly enough, I've been led to believe that they're available in Japan, the US, and the UK. So really weird, hey? It's very strange.
Yes. Max said he just ordered his hardcover. He'll go to war over it. Thank you, Max.
Good. Thank you.
You're too kind. Well, everybody, Raquel has a couple of movies for us that she's been doing for the past couple of months. Oh, let's see here. J-Man says, it's at my concierge desk. I don't have it in hand yet. I'll go get it tomorrow morning. Okay. Let us know how it goes there, J-Man. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, you get a hold of me because I'm going to be ordering some of the paperbacks, because the paperbacks are all they will send to Canada to me here. And that's what I'm going to be using at my book launch. So if you get something and it doesn't look right, it's dodgy or whatever, tell me right away, because out of that lot, I'll just send you a copy, and that way I'll be able to sign it. I mean, it will be inordinately expensive, but it's my understanding that maybe 2 or 3 people who bought the books are going to be receiving the ones that have the weird formatting that is screwed up on Amazon's end that I complained about and corrected. So I'm waiting to hear from those 2 or 3 people so that I can get it rectified for them.
I said, "Oh, sorry, I got a paperback. I can't read hardcover books." Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
well, not only that, you can't order the hardback to Canada.
Oh, okay.
They'll show it to you, but they won't send it to you.
Oh, okay.
I tried to order a proof. They said no, and then I have people in my circle who tried to order the hardcover to see if you could, and it's a no.
Damn.
So,
Well,
oh, 6 is happy if she gets a variant. That's what my offspring said. My offspring was like, "Oh, like you don't understand. People will be happy to get something with a variant in it." And so I love that you said that, 6. You would get along very
Indeed.
well with my offspring. You're a rock star. You know that, lady? You're such a good friend. Thank you,
yes,
6.
indeed. So we have some more movies from Raquel tonight. We've got a couple of science fiction movies, right? 2 of them tonight, right?
Well, one is from you, that I think you brought up, and then it turned into a tag team match with you and Hungry Boy, and I got really excited because it's a Jules Verne novel that I've never read, and it was made into a film. So my first one tonight comes
Yay,
from
Master of the World.
Yeah, you brought this up, and then Hungry Boy was like, "Oh yeah," and of course, you two are always tag teaming me when you think something is beautiful, and so he got a hold of me the other night, and he was like, "Hey, I have a copy of that if you want to see that," and so I watched it, and oh my gosh,
I love this
oh
movie.
my gosh. Okay, so I have the Wikipedia page up, and I'm going to read a little bit about it if you're unfamiliar with this title and just introduce it. Yeah, and this is how he sent it to me, Nemo of the Air.
Pretty
Wow,
much.
man. Absolutely, the Nemo of the Air. And of course, by that, he's referring to one of my childhood heroes, Captain Nemo. Okay, so this is from the Wikipedia page. Master of the World is a 1961 color science fiction film based on the Jules Verne novels Robert the Conqueror and its sequel, Master of the World, with a screenplay written by Richard Matheson. The film stars Vincent Price, Charles Bronson, and Henry Hull, and was directed by William Whitney and produced by Samuel Zed Arkoff, Anthony Karas, who also edited, and James H. Nicholson. American International Pictures released the film as a double feature with a gorilla movie titled Conga. Excuse me, I have to cough.
Conga.
Okay, so here's
All right, J-Man. Good night, buddy.
Good night, J-Man. Everyone, please
Thanks for
follow
being here, bro.
J-Man. J-Man is
Yes.
also an author. His wife is an award-winning Canadian poet. Please follow them to Twitter and follow them to YouTube. They are marvelous human beings. They're just,
Wonderful
I can't
people. Good
say
friends.
enough wonderful things about them. Okay.
And, yes, indeed. And please go to his channel. He's got a lot of great videos and stuff too, including you did one tonight that I wish I'd have been able. I was somewhere else, or I wish I could have watched that one tonight, but I'll watch it later, J-Man. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. A man known only as Robert or Price shoots down and takes on board his flying ship Prudent, his daughter Dorothy, her fiance Evans, all of whom were exploring a volcanic crater in their balloon, along with U.S. government agent Strock, who had hired them to look for evidence of an eruption. The supposed eruption was caused by Robert working on his airship. He had also inadvertently broadcast a biblical passage over a voice amplifier, stirring religious fears among the citizenry of the nearby town. Robert has been traversing the globe in his airship, the Albatross, with the obsessive aim of forcing peace on the world by virtue of his superior military capabilities. He has a loyal crew of like-minded, equally fanatical idealists. The captives learn how his ship operates and about his technical advances, including generations of electrical power by crossing lines of magnetic force, a quaint but accurate description of a dynamo's operating principle. The prisoners are anxious to escape, but don't fully trust Strock, who appears at times to side with Robert. After saving Evans's life, Strzok explains that his oath of loyalty to Robert was insincere and that as a captive, he feels no compunction to behave as a gentleman. And that's all I'm going to read because I don't want to spoil it. But holy Kawasaki, holy macaroni. I've never read this book, but after seeing the film, I'm definitely going to buy the book. I'm so happy you guys recommended this to me. I loved this film, Clobby. I loved it.
I've not seen this in many, many, many years because we were talking about it last week and I wanted to go find it and just totally forgot that you were going to watch it. And yet I still remember it so vividly because I watched it so many times back in the 70s and 80s over and over again that I can still talk about it now as if I've seen it recently because I've watched it. I love Vincent Price, of course, is absolutely magnificent in this film.
He is.
And as you can see on this poster, it's got his name only. So Charles Bronson was no household name at the time. He had just been in the two masterpiece films, The Great Escape and The Magnificent Seven, almost like back to back. And then he's in this one as just as cool as ice, man. He is just, he's what a man's man that dude is. Who doesn't love Charles Bronson? He was just fantastic. Just
I'm not one of those women who like ogles men. You know, like how a lot of women have like a laundry list of guys who they find like big stars who they're fans of and they find attractive. I've never been that sort of a person. I don't look at men on television or film and think, oh, you know, like what a dreamboat or whatever. It's just never been my personality. I don't know why I'm that way, but I am. But I have to tell you that I thought that Charles Bronson was very manly in this film. And I really loved seeing these beautiful bodies of these men, these shirtless men. And they were all in, they were all just, his men without shirts working on the airship was pretty outstanding. And as a lady, I was like, grrr. It was good. It was so good. The story was great. It is Captain Nemo. It is Captain Nemo, but in the air. It's so good. So good.
Hungry Boy says, I feel that King Kirby, and to a lesser extent that funky flashy guy, had this film in their heart a bit while creating our top Latverian just a bit, a tiny bit. Our top Latverian, of course, he is referring as you all, as if you didn't know, everyone, Dr. Doom. I can see that. There's a little Rober in Dr. Doom, but Rober's not evil, though. He's idealistic and fanatical. And Price is just magnificent in this film because films like this at the time, except for Around the World in 80 Days, which actually did get nominated for Best Picture. Usually a film like this didn't get that kind of Oscar consideration. But, you know, Vincent Price should have for this. Hello there, Oliver Belamonte.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a villain in this film, and I haven't read the book. I'm definitely going to read the book, and Mr. Angel is cheering me on, saying, yes, please read the book. You don't have to twist my arm. I love Jules Verne, but there is a villain in this film, and I can't say who it is because I don't want to spoil the movie for anyone if they haven't seen it, and I definitely don't want to spoil the book if the book is anything like the film. There is a villain, but it isn't Price.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think I don't know, he's just doing some pretty bad things, but he believes he's right. He's the fanatical. That's where he's sort of like Doom in the sense that he'll do bad things to justify that he's right and that he's, you know, his ego, and he believes he's, you know, he's making the world a better place by doing some bad things. But he's still he's honorable in some ways, and he's also he's idealistic, altruistic.
Do you think that he did bad things?
Well, he did like just go bomb a bunch of people and stuff.
But they were at war and they were going to kill one another.
Well, they were, yeah, but he's dropping bombs on them. The two people who, why is it his business? That's what I'm saying. That's the Dr. Doom element. You know,
Yeah.
who is he to tell these people not to fight each other? Maybe they felt like, you know, whether war is good or not, why does one man get to come and just end somebody else's war like that?
Yeah.
But
it's very
he's fanatical.
philosophical.
He's crazy.
It's
Right.
very philosophical, but I personally did not feel like what he did was wrong.
Well, I mean, these guys are these people who were fighting, or they were having a fight, fair enough, but he was dropping bombs on them.
He was.
I mean, while
to
they
make
were
them
fighting.
stop.
So yeah, and just to make them stop, he'll kill you guys to make you stop. So yeah, again, I
He'll
think
kill you. He'll bomb the area.
Yeah.
as collateral damage to make people stop killing each other in the
Right.
hopes of sparing more life. And
Like
yes, there is
Fanatical.
a complexity of character here, Hungry Boy. Yeah.
Sure.
It isn't until later that the character settles in with you that you realize that, like Clubby was saying, that he's snapped his crayons and that he's
Right.
fanatical and what he's doing is wrong. But at first it doesn't strike you that way. But there
Well-
is another character in this film who is not a good person and is quite evil.
Although,
And-
is he evil, though? Because I know you're talking about, and remember at the end, he finally does the right thing.
No, not really.
If we're talking about the same guy.
We're talking about the same guy. And I mean, well, we'll talk about it off camera.
Okay, I mean, at the last second, he does help Strzok, but anyway.
He does,
but,
but look at,
He's
but
just a petty little jerkweed, but yeah.
he is, and he
You know who
could've-
else he is, right?
Pardon? No.
Larry Marvick from Is There in Truth No Beauty? The same actor.
Oh, no way it is. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're right, it is.
But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this film. I mean, again, it's just beautifully shot, beautiful colors. This is a spectacle that, I mean, just holds up over the years. You watch it and it's just as enthralling as anything they can make today. And
Yep.
that I love the Albatross. What a wonderful ship that is. The concept. Imagine in 1961 seeing, obviously, if you hadn't read the book, of course, and I saw this way before I ever read the book. Books. There are 2 books actually. And it is, look, you could probably make the case that Verne is repeating himself a little bit after Captain Nemo, because this guy, he did, I think, Rober's after Captain Nemo. I think he created Nemo first, if I remember correctly. It could be wrong, but I think he did this after 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The books, I mean. But obviously. And this movie's never been as famous as the original 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Disney, which, which was a great film. Kirk Douglas and James Mason.
I'm almost positive that I haven't seen that. And then there are sometimes when I see little snippets of it and I think I have seen it.
Oh, the original.
Because,
yeah.
how whenever I read a book, I discard the film version. I can't imagine the film version. Of course, you realize that I'm like that with Dracula. And I'm definitely like that with the modern Prometheus, or as people call it, Frankenstein. But I tried to watch that because Chris Perzer was like, Raquel, I want you to watch that next. And he's just like, have a good nap and have a Verne day, grab a tea and have a Verne day. And but I had to pay to watch that one, so I didn't get that one.
That's true. Herbert Lom did play him in it. I love Mysterious Island, by the way. That's the next one. Watch 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and then Mysterious Island, the sort of sequel. But with Mysterious Island, of course, is a Ray Harryhausen film, so you got that bonus too.
Okay, well,
have you ever seen those two?
Hold on.
Because I love 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
I've never. I read that book. That book is like a childhood. Like I have a collector's leather.
Too.
Like that one is everything to me, because Captain Nemo to me was just like, oh my goodness.
I think you'll find that Master of the World is probably more faithful to the 2 books than if I remember right now. Remember, it's been a while since I've both read and even watched 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, respectively. I mean, I think that the Disney version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I love, is it more faithful to the story? I don't know. I can't remember how faithful it is to the book, to be perfectly honest with you. But if you still, I'd recommend watching the Disney version than Mysterious Island.
Well, I'm going to watch
Mysterious
Island, but I also have, and I don't remember if it was Hungry Boy or if it was you who said that I need to watch Is This Island Earth?
This Island Earth. It's a good film.
I'm going to watch that.
Hungry Boy, did you ever watch MST3K, the movie where they beat up on this, when they trash this Island Earth, or when they make fun of it? I mean, it's so funny now. I can never watch the movie again because they ruined it. But it's a classic. No, so it's a. But anyway, yes. So I'm glad you enjoyed this one. I wish I'd have tracked it down after we talked about it last week. I totally forgot that you were going to watch it. Should have known better.
Well, this is
I
beautiful.
love it though, and I mean, I still remember it so vividly. I've seen it that many times, but I
Yeah.
want to go back and watch it again since it's been so long. I need to go get that Blu-ray. I got to write it down.
Yep.
Damn it.
It's
I can't
good.
find it anywhere.
It's good. It's not quite as gothic as 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea,
No,
but it still has that steampunk feel where you're just
Yes.
where you're like, are you familiar with Mumford?
Yes.
Mumford
so.
wrote about mechanization.
Right.
And whenever I see this kind of stuff, I think of Mumford and I think about mechanization and how crazy mechanization was for people as a developing technology. And so I'm fascinated by that. So the fact that this is quasi steampunk without that gothic edge to it, I think sets it apart from Captain Nemo. This is more practical science, whereas Captain Nemo was futurism. You know what I mean? That was actual science fiction, but it's futurism. This is more engaging in the conversation of mechanization and and less gothic-y. And so I love them both. I'm going to watch everything surrounding this, and certainly now I'm going to read the novels. Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I wouldn't mind digging up 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea myself, and then that I haven't seen as much. I haven't seen that as much as I've seen Mysterious Island, because that was another one that used to run on that channel that ran this all the time. Mysterious Island, of course, being a Harryhausen film, I love it. So, which is a sequel to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So sort of. Well, what else you got?
I have one more thing here. Just wait and let me pull up on my webpage for it, and then let me get this up on the screen. Okay, so you're probably looking at this and you're like, oh my God, Raquel, what the hell is this? This is Solaris or Solaris, however you want to pronounce
the original, I presume.
The original from 1972.
Oh, gotcha.
Now this is in Russian.
Yes.
And the original novel was written in Polish. And so I'm going to read a little bit about this, and then I'm going to talk about it. Psychologist Chris Kelvin is being sent on an interstellar journey to evaluate whether a decades-old space station positioned over an oceanic planet, Solaris, should continue to study it. Wow, the people of Wikipedia have some interesting writing skills. He spends his last days on Earth with his elderly father and retired pilot Burton. Years earlier, Burton had been part of an exploratory team at Solaris, but was recalled when he described strange happenings, including seeing a 4-meter-tall child on the surface of the water of the planet. These were dismissed as hallucinations by a panel of scientists and military, but now that the remaining crew members are making similarly strange reports, Chris's skills are needed, so he's sent there. Now, okay, so Solaris, it was released in February 5th, 1972 in Moscow. It is an award-winning film. Some folks say that it is the greatest film ever made. People really, really love this film. I found this film to be outstanding. It was, for me, it's a 10 out of 10. Now, I just want to explain some things about this. This is a very controversial film. And the reason why it's controversial, and I always knew it was controversial, and I think, that's why I sort of stayed away from it, and because it was all drudged up in 2002 when George Clooney did a remake of it, of this Lem novel.
Yes.
And the problem is very academic. So I find this whole thing very interesting. Lem was a polyglot. So he spoke many different languages, but he published this book originally in Polish. He has accepted no version of his novel or even a film due to what he felt was this interpretation of it being too much like Crime and Punishment. So he felt as though they didn't get the story right. It's a, you know, it's a very philosophical, almost poetic novel. So so it's important to know that going in. Now, apparently, there is someone, a comparative literature professor named Bill Johnston. Apparently, what he did is he went back to the original Polish and he translated the original Polish to English. And apparently, Lem's family, this is the man who wrote the novel, is pleased with this. This is the only interpretation of it because it's a pure translation. No interpretations have been done. Okay, so it's just pure translation. And so, so that is the only approved copy of his work, of Lem's work. But it's not legal for it to be printed. So you can only read the PDF online. And I think it's legal for you to listen to the audiobook. But the people who have the rights will not allow Bill Johnston's pure translation, which Lem would approve of, to be printed. So while you're watching this, it's very important to realize that Lem's novel was not as skewed towards Crime and Punishment, and to take that take on the novel. That said, this is a masterpiece of filmmaking. It is nothing like the 2002 version. And so when you look at the controversy and you think to yourself, okay, so I'm not supposed to be reading any of the books because none of the books are proper except for the Polish one. And then this latest one that Bill Johnston came out with. And then we look at Lem saying that the film, even though he was a part of writing the film, that the film focused too much on the crime and punishment aspects. All of that said, this film is a masterpiece. It is an absolute masterpiece of science fiction. It is absolutely beautiful. And I hope one day people will get their shit together. I'm sorry for using profanity on air.
Right.
But just get their crap together and allow Bill Johnston's pure translation to come out. Because, you know, it's not fair to have it's translated from Polish to French, then to English, and to have this these authors making their own interpretations on the novel. And we need to have Bill Johnston's pure translation, what Lem really wanted. We need that published. I would like to buy it, and I know many people would like to buy it. This film is a 10 out of 10. It's absolutely gorgeous, even though I am disclaiming the fact that Lem was horrified that it focused too much on crime and punishment.
There you go. Tad Dadman, good to see you, buddy.
Hello.
And Trevor, hello, Trevor Cunningham. Thank you all for joining us there. Well, there you go. So you watched this. Was this the first time you've seen it?
Yeah, it is the first time that I saw the 1972 film. And like I said earlier, I knew about the controversy, but it wasn't until I watched this and I was like, okay, so why? What's going on here? Why is the George Clooney version like so romantic? Why is it weird? And why does it focus on like sexual attraction and sexual relationships or romantic feelings and romantic relationships? And then I thought, you know, what was all this controversy with the translation? So I went and I did my homework, and that's when I uncovered the fact that Lem was not happy with any of these renderings of his novel, and I'm very excited to read his novel, but I'm not going to go against his wishes and buy a book that was translated by somebody who did an interpretation of it instead of just translating it. Translating is a very academic enterprise, and you must be faithful to it, you know?
Don't blame you one bit. Don't blame you one bit. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
So this is an absolutely incredible science fiction film. I don't want to lose my voice, but I am going to say this. If you want to look at the ability of science fiction to help you to come to grips with encountering extraterrestrial life, and looking at how human beings form relationships and find meaning, how we experience existential dread, and what we do with those feelings, and how we treat one another and the meaning of our life. Wow, this is an exemplification of that. And if this fell short of what Lem desired, and this seems to be the consensus amongst academics, then we deserve that Bill Johnston translation, and everyone should read the book. Everyone should see this film, even though it's not quite what Lem wanted. And everyone needs to get Bill Johnston's translation of this novel. It's incredible.
Wow. Well, it's just a shame that kind of stuff happens, but can't blame him. Well,
Yeah.
This has been, I've never seen it, but it's been one of the most famous, most talked about science fiction films you're ever going to hear of. If you read a lot about science fiction, you'll see it mentioned a lot. You'll hear of it referenced a lot. And even if I had seen this one, I never would watch the Clooney thing because I can't stand Clooney anyway. So it was never a chance for me to watch that one anyway. But it just goes to show you they'll remake any old movie, no matter how great it is. They'll remake anything. That they would remake something like that is that well respected. Ugh.
Yeah.
What won't they remake?
It's disappointing, but there are very few science fiction films that that involve sociology and involve psychology that are not preachy. They're not trying to write a prescription for mankind. This is very reflective. This thing holds a mirror up to us and says, what lies in your consciousness? What's inside of you? What are your subconscious, unconscious thoughts? And it's pretty incredible to take science fiction in that direction. Because, that's what science fiction is supposed to help us do. That's what this genre is for. That's why it's not fantasy. That's why it's not comedy. That's why it's not opera. That's why it's not romance. So it is an exemplification of it, and I highly recommend it. Definitely, please see the 1972 film and don't see anything else. And as far as the translations go, don't even bother. Don't buy them. Don't have anything to do with them. They are interpretations. They're not translations. Look for Bill Johnston's PDF and that audiobook, and hopefully the people who are in charge of this legal case clear that book, because Clubby, just as well as I do. Let's just speak entirely like two rational beings right now. You have a book that's written in Polish, and someone comes and they translate it into French. And then someone comes along and they look at only the French translation and they translate it into English. How much fidelity do you think would be in that third-hand account? Right?
I'd be skeptical.
Right. So, don't buy the books. And don't watch the 2002 garbage. Oh my goodness, that is an abomination. It's so disgusting that what they did, that 2002. Oh, it's just terrible. That George Clooney thing is a joke compared to this 1972 thing. And Lem, it's important for me to say, Lem was heavily involved in writing the script for this 1972 film. It didn't quite come out the way he wanted on the other end. And he was an exacting person who was very cerebral, an academic. He was involved with literary theory. I think he even taught literary theory. So I can understand that it fell short of his expectations, but I would only look to as I said, the Bill Johnston translation of his book and this 1972 film, which is a 10 out of 10 as far as I'm concerned when it comes to science fiction.
Hungry Boy, look, I totally get you when he says Steranko should have done a comic of Solaritus. I definitely get what you're talking about. Yeah, indeed, Dad, man. Never was a Clooney fan either. You talk about how Yeah, George Clooney's a joke. You changed my mind. No problem. I hear you, JT. Agreed. And he said he watched the film and he hated it. So that'll be the 2002 one, that is, and he hated it. So yeah, when you talk about that, the only thing that springs to mind in terms of books being changed like that, Robert E. Howard's original Conan pulps, somewhere around the 40s, or I'm going to say into the 50s, a couple of different people started taking those and putting them into paperback form and really screwing around with them bad. So much so that the Howard of course, Robert E. Howard being the creator of Conan, right? And so much so that people tell you don't buy those old L. Sprague de Camp, Lynn Carter, Robert Howard adaptations because they're all butchered up and screwed around with. And Roy Thomas did read those as a kid, then bring Howard's Conan character into the forefront of fame via Marvel Comics in the 70s. But I remember later in the 90s, they finally started coming out with pure editions that reprinted those stories from Howard without any let's just say without any meddling.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's been done to a lot of I got some old books that come from one, that just, I wonder how many times that has happened in other instances. I don't know if anyone remembers that with the Howard books.
Well, I know that went on when we look at the epics, the Odyssey and the Iliad. And so I love Robert Fagel's. The Robert Fagel's translations are very true to the epics, and they're gorgeous. So yeah, it is a problem. And Ezra Goldstein had this comment. Ezra, thank you so much for the question. I'm going to answer you right now. Okay, Solaris was first published in Poland in 1961. In 1970, a woman by Joanna Kilmartin and Steve Cox translated it into French. And then, I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling. And then there was a Houghton, Milfin, Harcourt, Mariner, Kilmartin, Cox translation. That was translated from French. And then there was a Faber and Faber translation from French to English. And so all of that has been completely rejected by Lem and his family. They're very upset about the way that the stories were changed. They lost their lyrical quality. They lost their poetic quality, and they became what those authors interpreted or what they felt about the stories instead of just pure translations. And then along in 2011, this is how long it's taken, Ezra. In 2011, a wonderful American professor of comparative literature at Indiana University and an award-winning translator of works in Polish, his name is Bill Johnston. He came along and he fixed it. And so now we have the family saw the translation, they read it, and they gave their resounding approval. So cool. Only now since 2011 has this book been translated correctly by this wonderful American by the name of Bill Johnston. Now, it's my understanding through research that it is tied up legally, where they will not, there's someone who holds the legal rights right now will not allow Bill Johnston's translation to be put into print. And I think that's heinous, that's criminal. Bill, this wonderful, like I said, this wonderful American professor of comparative literature at Indiana University has done his due diligence and has done Lem proud and has actually translated the book properly. I think we deserve it, and I want to read it. So that's the history, and I hope that answers your question. And thank you so much for asking it.
Let's see, we have some stuff. Was it a Ironhide says something like this ever happened to Lovecraft works? I believe it has, actually, but I can't give you any specifics on that Ironhide. But I've heard complaints from Lovecraft fans about bad translations or chopped up, butchered up translation. Maybe not exactly the same way as what happened here with this, but certainly edited and chopped up things. I know the Lynn Carter, Elsbreg de Camp stuff for those Conan stories. A lot of Howard purists certainly don't like them, and I haven't read many of the Sprague de Camp ones. I didn't buy those, but I bought a lot of the comics and some of those later Howard reprints. But to put it in Clobby terms, imagine 1960s Doctor Who remade by 1980s Hollywood, then remade by today's Netflix. Ugh, do I have to imagine it?
Oh, I love you all
Unfortunately,
very
I
much.
can't
Thank you,
imagine it.
everyone.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, yep. Read about 600 pages of. I know you mean R.E. Howard. Bran McMorrin was cool. Yep.
Yeah.
Mr. Angel, I never read any of the books you're talking about by Sprague de Camp, so I'm not knocking any of those. I'm just saying a lot of people didn't like what he did. He and was it Lynn Carter or whoever did with a lot of the Conan, Robert E. Howard purists don't like what was done to those stories. So
yeah. So
Let's see
very, very cerebral, very academic topic tonight, but I just thought it was interesting. And for Lem to say, well, they sort of made it political and sort of turned it into this thing where the aliens were, punishing human beings for their very nature, for something that human beings are not responsible for, is not an exemplification of the original story as intended. So, so my recommendation is to read in Polish if you can. If you can read it in Polish, I envy you. See this 1972 film, and certainly if you can get your hot little hands on a digital copy of this wonderful Dr. Bill Johnston's translation, go ahed and do it.
Well, I want to say to you that I do understand what Six is saying. It's just, Raquel, I hear the fatigue in your voice. I've had such a lovely time listening to the two of you. Thank you so much for pushing through for Clobby's show. Thank you so much for that, Six. I agree with you and I want to tell you right now, everyone understands if you need to, if you want to save your voice, if you want to cut it short now, I'll hang with everybody a little bit because I know you don't feel good.
Well, I'm okay for a few minutes more, but yeah, one of the reasons why I wanted to get in here today and talk about it is just because I felt so very passionate about my reaction to the film and this story behind its creation. And look at what Chris Persia is saying. I guess I'll have to read it in Polish.
There you go.
So jelly, so jelly.
Wow, I didn't know you could read in Polish. Wow, good. Well, good. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, you're not feeling well. You need to save your voice and relax. You're supposed to be tired still. You have like a bad cold, didn't you? Or was it a cold?
No, I have like a really, really super bad flu. It's been going on for a week, but I heard that it's going around.
Yeah, they do that.
It's really bad. It's really knocking some people out.
That time of year.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure. Oh, probably. Your mom is also a polyglot. That's wonderful. Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
JT Kirk says he can't read in Polish, but he can drink in Polish.
It's a fair cop. Oh my goodness.
What is it? Stolichnia? Is that how you say it?
How would I know?
I think it's Stolichnia, right? Anyways, I'm sorry if I butchered it.
Take your word for it.
So I hope you all enjoyed those. So remember, Master of the World. This is a Jules Verne book, and like the boss said, what the captain said, it's actually a two-parter. So go to that and get that. The boss was right about that. He told me to watch that. It's glorious. I love it. And please get the books. Mr. Angel also thinks the books are good. And this Solaris story is just absolutely beautiful. What an incredible thing that Hungry Boy did there. very cerebral, very academic, very deep and beautiful topic. Wonderful exemplification of cerebral film, wonderful exemplification of this existential dread and meeting extraterrestrial life. So this is pushing the boundaries of science fiction, but certainly staying within, the confines of what it's meant to do. And then this idea of how you can pay tribute to Lem and show fidelity by just getting that Bill Johnston translation. And that's all I have for you this week, folks.
Well,
and it was
all
quite
right.
a ride. Thank you so much, Clobby, for the suggestion. And thank you so much, HB, for being my late night film buddy. I love you,
Thank you.
sweetheart.
All right, everybody. Who's for throwing Raquel out so she's forced her to
Okay.
go feel better?
I am going to go and get
Get
into
that.
bed. I hate to run out on you all.
I don't want to
but
pull rank on you, and I don't want to get get all the crew to mutiny on you, but we want you to feel better. So.
Yes. I'm going to start having a coughing fit, but I just want to say thank you so much, everyone. I love you all so very, very much. I feel weird about ducking out early. Will
Don't
you all
worry
do
about
me a
that.
favor, please? Will you please take care of my captain? He is such a wonderful person. I love him so much. Take good care of my captain while I'm gone. And we'll see you all soon. Good night, everyone.
We'll see you at Saturday Night Star Trek #1. Love you.
Love you, Clobby. Good night, honey.
And I'll holler at you later. Okay, you gonna go get some rest? You promise us, right?
I am. I'm going right to bed.
Oh.
I love you, honey. Good night.
Love you. Be good. Good night. Yes, and then there was one at the clubhouse, folks. You're stuck with me, but don't worry. I'll let you guys get out early. Why not? We'll give everybody an early night off. We're gonna be unless anybody else wants to come out and hang out with me here. I'm kidding. I wouldn't put upon you guys like that. Yeah, exactly. 6. Get out of here before we all get sick. Oh dear. So yeah, it's Mark couldn't make it tonight, and Raquel above and beyond the call. I tried to tell her before the show. By the way, you could ask her. She's my witness. I tried to tell her she did not have to do this. Wouldn't listen. Wouldn't listen. So, well, what are you gonna do? So, burp. Oh man, I messed up myself. Actually, I got bad heartburn. But we won't hang too much more tonight. Yeah, I'll throw a link to Hungry Boy if he wants one, and we'll make it like a member stream type thing. I gotta find. It takes me a second to find people on Twit. There you are. All right, Hungry Boy, you got a link. No, you don't. Now you do. I think you do. I guess it came through all right. I don't know. Yeah. There you go. You got one. And still, we won't run that much longer anyway. My leg's about killing me on this damn desk. I've been on it so long tonight. So every now and then it's probably good for me to get away from this desk that much. And yeah. But hey there, Donnie Pearson. What's up? What you up to, man? Let's see. Donnie Pearson says, "Hopefully everyone is well. Seems sorry for the delay. I'm working on my recreation of Danny Elfman's theme music from Batman the Animated Series." No, it's cool. Hey. It's cool, man. It's always good to see you. Good to see everybody here tonight. Glad to have you all here. So, like I said, I'm not going to run too much longer anyway. Like I said, Mark's not here. Raquel's not here. I'm not quite under the weather like them, but see, we are getting to that point. I live way down south. Let's put it like that. And we don't get much cold weather, so when we do get it, it gets all weird. It's up and down. It's on and off. So now we got some really cold weather all of a sudden tonight. This early in the year is kind of rare for us to get any kind of cold. So, but anyway, let's see. Did you see that? I guess you saw it. Hungry boy, hungry boy. Who knows? He's here. He's on his way, I think. He's checking it now. So yeah, it's cool. It's not a big, like I said, it's not a big deal. We'll be on next week too. We'll be on for Thanksgiving night probably. What's up, hungry boy? Hungry for the proper science fiction prose.
I'm in. Am I too quiet, or is this okay? Audio okay?
Here. You're fine now, brother. 5 by 5.
Excellent. Well,
what up, dude?
what shall we? First off,
I don't know.
You know how concerned I get about your health and Raquel's health.
I don't have any health. Oh shit. Sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna be funny. I can't make you laugh because I know about that asthma and stuff. I got
the asthma's
stuff
good.
Too. Okay, you okay? You all right?
Oh yeah, I'm good. I just need more water. I gotta go get some water.
All right, so if I accidentally make a good joke, it's all right.
Do what you want. I'll probably get you to vamp for me so I can go get me some more water in a minute. But other than that, cool. And again, to me right now, my big problem is the chair that I've been sitting on for like hours now.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
Sometimes it's comfortable. Sometimes it's not so much. I probably need to take stuff.
Do you want me to just vamp so you can just go grab a little analgesic, a little painkiller?
Yeah, I trust you with our friends. I'm gonna go take me some. Just get me some water, and you just talk to our buddies, and you can handle it. You've never done a stream by yourself before, but it's the first time for everything, right?
Doesn't mean I haven't handled a stage before, Clubby.
There you go. We'll talk to the buddies. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get me some water.
All right, you take care of yourself. I'll hold the fort. Let me know when you're back. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am looking at the chat right now, so if anyone has any questions, go ahead. But, we can always go and talk about how bloody disappointing it is to see people who are supposed to be journalists claiming to be tripwire folks just not getting the clue. Or we can talk more about Solaris, or we can talk about other science fiction stuff that is like Solaris. So what about a recommendation in the chat from people of what they would like to discuss? You there, Steve? Thor? You there? Shall we talk about Starlin, 1974? Adam Warlock. Oh, is this on? Is this thing on? Are people hearing me? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it all out. Can somebody in the chat tell me if the audio is on? I see you talking. I see y'all talking. Well, StreamYard says everybody can see and hear me. I don't know if that's the case. 5 by 5. Thank you, 6. Thank you very much. Chris, you're going to get me to laugh. Oh, you're going to get me to laugh, Chrissy boy. Yes, you are. Like you always do. Oh, and thank you so much for the support of Raquel, 6. That really means a lot. We need everybody to support each other in the geekosphere and the nerdosphere. We really, really do. But when someone like you supports Raquel openly and directly in many ways that I won't talk about, but Neurotic occasionally does, you understand that makes a little bit of a more difference, demographically speaking. Question. Would you recommend the Toho movie, The Green Slime? Well, if you are a Toho completist, as I am, and if you don't mind some goofiness, and you don't mind that weird interchange when Toho was trying to have a little bit of a tango with the non-Asian filmmaking communities, yes, I would recommend it. Oh, you adore the crap out of that woman? You're in good company, 6. You're in very good company. Top 10 Wesley moments? You are talking to the wrong man. Sorry, JT. Let's see. Hey, it's a party now. And by the way, just for Thor, for Maddie's daddy, for Steve, I did buy that Marvel interpretation, shall we say, of the Iliad. A lot of it was accurate, according to what I had read as a child. A lot of it was not. But let me just say, and you'll understand exactly what I mean, and I'm saying this as an ex-freelancer, it seemed very rushed. Okay? It seemed like they should have given a 2, maybe 3-month deadline to it, and it really felt like there was 28 days given. That's the way it felt.
The Marvel adaptation from the 70s, you mean?
Yes, from the Iliad. You remember that one, and there was a lot. I was just because Steve brought that up before, and so I just wanted to get back to him out of respect. And I mean, it was as good as you were going to get of classic literature in the 70s. Okay, I mean, Marvel had to get stuff out on time. DC had to get stuff out on time. Do you remember the first Classics Illustrated stuff, the original run of it?
Oh, the old comics that was it Dell or whatever did of Classics Illustrated, where they adapted everything in the comics form to start in the 50s. When they were doing that. Hey there, Keely Chow, roll tide, buddy.
Hello, Keely, roll tide.
Roll tide. Six, thank you for those lovely kind words. You're the best. I wish you'd come hang out with us one night. Maybe we'll get you to come on the she does enough. She's for Tom and all that other stuff. She's always streaming and stuff. But we'll get Six to come hang out one of these days.
Can I give a compliment to Six? Can I give a compliment to Six?
Yes, because she deserves any compliments she gets.
It's going to be PG-13, Six, if you don't mind. PG-13.
Oh, that's a little high, but she can accept.
Okay, I'll go PG. I'll go PG. Six, you've got a face for a lovely romantic novel cover, and you got a voice for the best 2 a.m. radio.
Nice.
Is that acceptable?
I think so. I mean, you know what? Hey, don't get familiar, you. That's like Mo from the Three Stooges. Like, hey, don't get familiar. Bad him outsider. Hey, Mo. Yep. Completely. Yeah. I'd send
So about some things though, like you were talking about when you were getting a little ornery about Tripwire. I mean, when I see stuff like this with Tripwire, and you'll get the reference. Slowly I timed,
inch by step, inch by inch. Now, let's talk about Tripwire for a second. And Six, look, anytime you want to link, my dear, when you're available, well, let us know. But and when no one is listening, okay. And when no one is listening, listen to that. Oh my goodness, he said it, I didn't. So I don't know what his deal is. He's hungry boy. He's a loose cannon, that hungry boy.
I'm not loose. Let's just say that I need to have the screw turned a little bit more to the right
Niagara
than the
Falls.
west.
Niagara Falls. Chris knows what we're talking about. Larry the cheese. Yeah. Well, we get up and dance, do the curly shuffle. I love the curly. Remember that?
Oh, yes.
Video?
Oh, that was
the curly shuffle. Yeah.
That was just gorgeous. But I have to admit, I hope you're not going to consider me too much of a heathen. Okay, I am more of an Abbott and Costello guy than a Stooges guy.
I love Abbott and Costello, but Abbott and Costello were accused of plagiarizing from the Three Stooges in vaudeville. And vaudeville, as you know, not that they weren't great. I love them, but they were accused of.
And the other problem too is, see, the thing I actually like about the Stooges is when you look into the history of them, they're actually more loyal to them than Abbott was to Costello, and vice versa. And so it kind of, it's like you've said, sometimes you don't want to know how the sausage is made creatively with certain people. I mean, I would never want to hear that there was any form of personal ruction between Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. That would kill me.
Right.
You know? And it was bad enough learning when you're a little kid. You read the comics and you see the bullpen bulletins, especially if you start as a little kid trying to collect the Silver Age back issues. And so you think everybody's so chummy. They're all so happy to come into work. And then you find out what funky flash. The bullpen. Yeah. I mean, my God, 1962. It's like one big room for Stan, then a smaller room for the art department, and then there's like this closet-sized room for poor old fabulous Flo, and that's the so-called bullpen.
Hey, now let's not start. It's almost Christmas. Let's not start ruining Santa Claus for everybody.
Oh man, believe it or not, I've never heard that. I've never heard that one.
I just made it up today, actually.
That is fantastic.
But he is that to a lot of 50-year-old men who haven't done the research. Let's be honest. But I'm not going to start that now. Again, Six. Let me know if you want to link or if you want to link next time. It don't have to be tonight if you're busy. But one of these nights will get you in here. I'd love to have you now, but so to speak.
And Six said, if I might read this out, in the middle of the night when no one is listening.
Okay.
Damn.
Everyone listens in the middle of the night. All right, let's talk about Triple I for a second. That
Okay,
Frank Miller at number 7. Okay,
Oh,
look,
jeez.
I really, and again, I love a lot of his writing. I love even some of his. I love like some of his, they were showing really nice examples. I love his Daredevil art. Then he changed his goddamn art style. He wouldn't. I still wouldn't have it in the top anyway. But don't get me wrong. But he changed his style too much with Ronin, in my opinion.
Yes,
with
yes,
Dark Knight.
yes.
It never looked back.
Yeah.
So,
and that's when it switched for me too. That's when I people said, "Oh, you really like what Frank Miller did in such and such and so and so. You need to check this out because you also like Asian movies." Okay?
Right.
And I looked at it and I just thought, "What is this scribbly scrabbly garbage?" It was scribbly scrabbly. It was there was no finesse.
You know what worked best for those Lone Wolf and Cub covers he did? They were really nice.
Yes.
But it worked for that.
You really hit the nail on the head where, and as I have tried to say in the chat, he is a good writer and he is excellent at layout. I will give him that. And he's okay, like 70% when it comes to breakdowns, which are not the same as full pencils. Okay, not the same as full pencils. Kirby did some breakdowns, but he's really good at the layouts. And then you have someone like Rubenstein come in, and Rubenstein brings him to life and gives the atmosphere. And Rubenstein also fixed something that I could not stand, and I still cannot stand, even at his best when he was doing his best penciling work, circa 1979. Something that Frank Miller would do that would drive me crazy was that he would make the eyes too far apart, and he would make them rhomboid, as in slightly rounded off squares. And it looked deformo to me. I'm sorry to use a bad word, but it really looked odd. Deformo eye.
No, yeah. Look, Rubenstein is responsible for most of why that Wolverine series is so terrific. The art is so extraordinary. That's really, it was very bare layouts that Miller did because he was in a hurry. They were trying to get that thing out quickly, and Rubenstein was really good. So I think he is the reason that looks extraordinary. Look, I like Jansen on his Daredevil. I mean, a lot of people don't like Klaus Jansen, but it was really smart, or maybe it was fortuitous would be the word. That when they do Born Again and brought it back for 7 issues, which I think is a masterpiece, to let Mazzucchelli do that art, because that art in that is just terrific to me.
And again, fantastic layout. Now, I may not like Mazzucchelli's finishes, and you know how picky I get, and you pick on me for that, and I love it. It's okay. It's okay.
We're all picky, aren't we?
Yeah, well, you're more picky about the writing, and I'm more picky about the art, and that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
So with me, the whole thing with Mr. Miller's art is it is entirely dependent on him having the trust of the artist to bring it to life. And then if we're going to go with the old 4-color process, which, as you know, is my favorite process, except for fully painted books, then you need to have the right colorist handling the beautiful inks of someone like Mr. Rubenstein, you know?
Yep.
And the coloring in that Wolverine miniseries was fantastic. Nobody can argue that. It was atmospheric, but it didn't get in the way. And when Frank Miller really shines is when he just accepts what his best parts are, and he doesn't worry about the rest.
He's great with action.
Yes.
Brilliant with action. I mean, I thought he was just extraordinary with action. I mean, Neil Adams told him he had no talent. Well, he could do more. Frank was better at action sequences than he was.
There are worse portfolio reviews. I'm sure you're aware of this. I'll just bring up Alex Toth's reaction to Steve Rude when Steve Rude first showed Alex Toth his work.
Wow. Really?
Oh, it was worse.
Wow.
It was worse. And the funny thing is, Steve Rude became like, "Hi, I'm Alex Toth Light. I'm your diet Alex Toth."
He's very imitative. You don't think Rude was sort of the Rich Buckler of the 80s? Of the 90s?
Oh, see, Clobby, I kind of respect Rich. I respect Rich too much to say that.
No, I'm not insulting Buckler, but let's face it, they bring him in to Fantastic Four, and what they say, draw like Kirby. He did, and Sin inked him and it looked wonderful. Yes. They said they had him, for example, he'd go do his own thing, and it was extraordinary on Deathlock. Then he goes to DC, and they said, "Well, can you do sort of an Adams on this Superman Shazam team?" And what does he do? He does an Adams, and it's cool. I look, he's fantastic. I love it. But it was, it wasn't like he had his own. The only time he Was he even really
he
doing
did
his own
he did have
style
his
on
own
Death
style,
Lock?
but it was never published, and we never got to see it. But I looked at his blog when he had one for a long time, and he'd show these old sketches, etc. And he did have his
Right.
own style, but he was just respectful to the company, giving him a job when he needed a job. And
Yeah.
he'd been working for Jim
I love
Bloody
him.
Warren, and Jim Warren was notorious for creative freedom, but you're going to starve waiting for the check.
Yes. Well, and in the mid 80s, the Comics Urinal, which I bought religiously, even though I call it the Comics Urinal, I still love that magazine. I still have all mine. But
It
they
was
had
good
a
back
thing.
then, yeah.
They started a thing called Swipe File.
Yeah,
And
I
that was
remember
they're the ones who nailed Keith Giffen for his theft, his thievery, of the artist from Alex Center, like Jose Munoz or whatever. And then
Yes.
but in transforming his style to completely, just totally ripping off this Venezuelan artist that he thought he'd never get nailed on. Anyway,
Yeah.
then later they did it to Buckler, and they found like a lot of panels where he was just redrawing Kirby stuff on some of his Mighty Crusaders of the 80s. But
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, I still love it. I love Buckler, man. Buckler did a lot of great stuff.
Well, and also we have to remember, being the age that we are, when Buckler was really going heavy, leaning heavy into the Kirby, as I have always said, because he was instructed to do so with the
Right.
Fantastic Four. He was instructed to do so, and sometimes he'd even be told, "Can you do this pose a little bit more Kirby?" So Herb Trimpe, he was doing a lot of Kirby stuff too. And so if you actually swipe a pose, then you can't really blame these guys for doing what they're told. And then how I feel about Big John Buscema, right? You know how I feel about him. I've said it so many times. And Steve and I, Thor and I have commended Big John Buscema so many times. But Buscema was ripping off himself for 20 years. He would repeat the same poses over and over again. He was just so good, he didn't need to Xerox them and trace them. He could just do them out of his head. And you'd often see the same lunge. You'd see the same arm coming up for, an uppercut. You'd see the same twist of the hip as they're carrying through with the punch. And the classic with Mr. Buscema, God rest his soul, and one of my top 5 comic book artists ever, such a naturalist, so organic, is when you have the brooding villain sitting in the throne, be it Loki or Doctor Doom. You know what I mean? And the knee is always the same. The thigh is always the same. You've always got the elbow on the armrest with the hand touching the chin. It's exactly the same all the time. But it's okay because it's Big John, right?
Well, yeah, look, Big John. It was fantastic. I love him. Now he didn't like doing superheroes as much as he loved doing Conan, except for Thor. Except for Thor. He didn't care for doing Avengers and stuff like that, but still, I loved it.
See, again, that's the how the sausage is made thing. I never needed to learn that, because when I see even An Android Can Cry, or when I see the introduction,
the greatest. Man!
Oh
yeah,
my God!
I love it.
Oh, it's Wagyu beef, bro. It's Wagyu beef versus a White Castle slider. And
yeah, exactly. Rude. Look, I love Steve Rude. Go ahead. You're going back to Buscema, though. Yeah.
Well, then we'll go to Rude. But with Buscema, when you look at his introduction of Ultron and that whole struggle between Hank Pym,
incredible.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps in my legs right now, with no exaggeration. That stuff, especially when I saw that first time I saw that, was in a Marvel Treasury edition with a full size, and I thought, this just reaffirms my choice at 8.5, 9 years old. I need to become a comic book artist. This is my chosen path in life. I don't care what any of the adults say. I will lie to them and tell them I'll be a lawyer. I will lie to them and tell them I'll become a doctor. I will lie to them and tell them I'll become a priest. I don't care. I'm going to draw comic books. Screw you.
Hell yeah. Excellent. Yeah, no, the only thing about Rude I was saying is that he did kind of, what I meant by the Buckler crack was simply the fact that he did ape Kirby a lot.
He did,
but I love it. And also other types of styles, but yeah. And yeah,
he was a big fan of Space
Nexus, though. Yeah, he was big. Yeah.
Well, Nexus, according to Steve Rude himself, was basically, I'm not going to be able to draw Space Ghost, so I'm going to work with Mike Baron and create Space Ghost.
Yeah, he still does stuff with him sometimes.
But the difference was that Mike Baron is such a wonderfully wacky son of a gun. Good
night, Chris. By the way, let's say good night to Chris Person.
Oh, good night, Chris.
Good night, buddy.
You're such a wonderful person. You, Chris, are one of the reasons that at the beginning, I mean, I came to Clobby's channel because I love Clobby, but what you have said and the way you say it and what you put into the chat has always made me feel like I'm the right pea in the right pod, and you just mean the world to me. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so
Chris,
much.
brother, the vindicator wrench of the North. Be good, buddy.
Yes.
Yes,
and
indeed.
God, I love Canadians. I adore Canadians, and he's a Canadian Australian, so I got 2 reasons to love him.
Do you know, until I started on YouTube, I don't think if I had ever met any, I didn't know, and now I know, like, just not just Raquel, not just Chris. I've streamed with so many now, and got to know so many now. It's amazing. So I love them too.
I adore Canadian, and with comic book culture, there's a lot of Canadian stuff, and then it's like you meet so many Filipino people because of comic book culture, and my God bless the Filipino people in comics. I mean, so much fantastic.
So many of those great artists. I mean, that was when they were. How many? I mean, we were talking to Claude about this not too long ago. All those ones that they just paid very little back that came over in the 70s.
Yes.
I mean, take your pick. Nestor Redondo.
Thank you, Jim Warren.
Yeah, that was him. But they went to DC and Marvel too.
Well, they knew. I mean, we all have to be honest, Clubby. We all have to start out. We all start out getting screwed or underpaid, and then we know that the editors are going to see our work, or the writer is going to send our work to an editor who can pay us. And then we're thinking, okay, we work for a year getting screwed, then we will be okay. It's just that, it's like a young actor working for free, or then making $5 a night on stage, and then they really hope that a talent scout's going to see them, back in Hollywood in the 1940s. It was a lot like that back in the 80s, a lot like that. So you do whatever you had to do in order to just get seen. And regardless of what the promise was, and if they said, okay, we're going to pay you $10 per page per 1,000 sold, you knew you were never going to see a dime. You were never going to see a dime, no matter how hard you worked. But you had to work really hard in case someone like Alan Moore or Neil Gaiman or Mike Grell or Mike Barron or Denny O'Neil saw your art. And that's what you were banking on. And it was a lottery ticket. I won't lie. It was a lottery ticket. But a lot of times, if you worked hard enough, the lottery ticket paid off.
Yep, absolutely. It was. And there were a bunch of them too. I mean, we were naming a bunch of them the other day. I mean, it was oh, good Lord. Look who's here. We got a good buddy popped in. The great Mark D with a C. I was not expecting.
No, I couldn't miss up on hanging out with you and Hungry Boy for a while. So
yeah. Well, we had Raquel was there for a while. I don't know if you know, but we gave her.
How's she feeling?
She was not feeling well, but she's
feeling poorly. But she was, to use an American term, she was a trooper.
She was a trooper. Yep. How was her voice?
And,
rough or
terrible?
It was getting rough, but she had some things she wanted to say, so she hung up about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
A little so.
Okay.
She was eloquent, though. She was.
We had to force her out the door.
Well, I know how she was feeling a couple of weeks ago, probably. So, Raquel, if you're listening, rest and feel better.
Right.
My voice is still kind of iffy, but it's feeling better.
In DMs, I actually told Raquel, if I send you a message, you're not allowed to answer, not even an emoji. You cannot lift one joint of one finger to type back at me. Okay, you just take the message and that's it.
All been there.
Yep.
So. Yeah. That's so how's it going, man? What's going on with you?
Great,
you
so the event was a big
event.
Oh yeah, so it was an old timers dinner so we raised money to as I said for a charity, it's a charity function, and I think we raised about 40 or 50 grand, which is great.
Nice.
So it goes to scholarships for kids.
Wow.
And it also goes to pay for balls and equipment and just the things that the schools can't afford, which is nice. And then the scholarship's a great thing. And
great, man.
Got to meet John Ledecky tonight, who's the uncle of Katie Ledecky and who owns the New York Islanders. So it's like, it's not often you get to, but the great thing was, in my town, he grew up in my town, and he had guys that he was friends with from 50 years ago, and they had a mini reunion. And he's like, I'm all inviting you to the Islanders game. And he's like, guy's like, yeah, but I don't know. He's like, look, you're gonna sit in the owner's box with me. You got food, drinks, everything all paid for. Don't worry about it.
Nice.
So but it was some great memories with what was really touching. One of his friends from high school is one of the older survivors with multiple was it multiple sclerosis, or is it muscular dystrophy?
Oh yeah.
So, and so as a kid, he said they told him, your friend's only going to live maybe a couple of years, and he's made it, like 40. God bless him. So he was there and everyone gave him a standing ovation. It was really touching. It was really nice. And Todd Zeal was there, who, if you're in the New York area, was known for playing with the Mets. And then Stefan Matteau, I'm sorry, I'm sports balling, but Stefan Matteau scored the overtime goal with the Rangers. Matteau. If you're a Ranger fan, you know that call. And the guy was massive. It's like next to him, he's like 6 feet. I can imagine what he looked like on skates. When you see these guys on TV, he was like taller than the Frankenstein monster. It was like, oh my God, this guy's huge. Super nice guy. But I mean, I'm like, my God, I wouldn't want to get in a fight with him on the ice. He was a massive guy. So there's a lot of old, some sports, luminaries there. But the stories they all tell about how important, it's more about the coaching and how coaches, and mentors in life can be a big influence on you. So that was really nice to have all those old stories about how coaches, took notice of a kid and helped put him on the right path. So those kind of stories are really nice.
Can I add something comic books related to that? Because I'm not the sports guy, but for me, that coach was Dick Giordano.
Okay.
Great one.
And boy, the advice he gave, I wish I'd been able to spend more time with him, but I understand exactly what you're talking about, Mark, because when you got the right guy with the right attitude and the right bearing, and they're a gentleman, but they're also strong, and they don't have a snide bone in their body, that can make the whole difference to your development. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there were some nice stories like that where one of the guys blew out his knee. He's like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And he was talking to in college, he was talking to some of the coaches, and the coach said, what do you do with some of these kids are problem kids? And he's like, you can never give up on them. You just got to keep trying. He's like, you would make a good coach. And then he became a coach for the last 40 years. So, but he was talking about this coach of ours that passed away in the 70s, and these guys were start breaking down crying 40 years later. They loved the guy so much. He died very young. Age 42, but he made a huge influence. And so imagine 40 years later, these guys are still breaking down. They miss this guy, this particular coach in town who was well loved and make a huge difference in with kids lives. Right. And same thing like you said, Harvey, but you got these mentors, when you go to work and these guys are passing on their knowledge to the next generation, whether it's comic books or art or coaching or leadership. So those are all great, great. And then you kind of, when you miss those people years later, then you kind of realize, wow, how lucky was I to, know that person. I wish I'd been able to spend more time with them, or not that you don't appreciate them, but I think in the moment you don't really realize it.
Well, they are in the moment too, and they are in the zeitgeist of either sports or the arts. And no one realizes, I hate to use the cliche, but you don't know what you got till it's gone, as the old rock song goes. And we will never, I don't know what the sports metaphor would be, but we will never have a Dick Giordano again.
No. Mr. Angel, have a good one, buddy.
Good night, Mr. Angel. Thank you so much for being in the chat. You are always a 100% delight, and you're a joy to be around, man. You're a joy to be around.
Feeling better, Mr. Angel.
He may have already left, but yeah. I hope you're feeling better. Yeah, he's home. He's home now, so.
Great.
It's Ironhide, though. That's true. Yeah, Alcala, and Oliver Alcala was incredible. A lot of those guys, those Filipino artists, there's so many of them. I was talking about them the other day, naming a bunch of them, but it kind of draws a blank on them now, all those names. But there are a lot of them.
Can I add
Ernie Chan, Ernie Chua.
I admired a guy's inking, and you'll know his inking, Clobby, because he's done some of your favorite comic book, or at least, top 20%, top 20%, not top 20, top 20% comic books. But what great inker in comic books, Pablo Marcos.
Pablo Marcos was an excellent.
I was lucky to have an entire issue inked by him. And
Carlos Garzon, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I know you're going to laugh at this, but I got to bring up the name, Rudy Nebres.
Rudy Nebres. I like Nebres.
I loved him over Gil Kane. I loved him over Gil Kane, man. That
Gil Kane loved his inks.
Yeah.
Gil Kane loved it.
Gil Kane didn't render much. He did a lot of contour lines, and he'd put the hard shadows in. But when you look at his pencils, he didn't actually do like what we refer to these days as the Finch over rendering. You know, David Finch and a whole bunch of the other guys just putting in every single little cross-hatching line, leaving the inker nothing to interpret. So the beautiful thing about Gil Kane was he allowed so much of his work to be interpreted by the inkers. However, that meant if the inker was a piece of self-editing there, that meant the work would look like
yeah, we don't. And Kane, look, he had to make a living, so he could, you know, he, like a lot of guys, did a lot of layout jobs. So they figured that's, you know, let the inker make a living too, and he did that.
And thank God he did all those covers, because that meant Dave Cockrum, who we didn't know, but he was suffering from diabetes at the time. You know, and that's what was slowing him down, and he was losing the sensation in his fingers, which is why he had, that's why he had to stop using the brush. That's why you look at the inking in X-Men 100, which is arguably some of his best inking ever when he was inking himself, and things are totally different in the Futurians when he had to switch to the nib, because he was,
and when he went back to X-Men too,
yeah, and
so it's a totally different technique, Hungry Boy, or it's just what's a nib? That's like a rubber. It's like a rubber.
No, nib is steel. Nib is steel. So it's like a calligraphy nib. So if you look at a crow
an old-fashioned pen quill.
Yes. So you dip that in, and it's made of steel, and it's got 2 prongs, and it comes down to a fine point. And you have to be very careful with it. But the thing is, it's going to be very resistant to every micro pound per square, micro inch per millisecond.
So it's more forgiving versus a brush.
Yes, and the brush is just not forgiving. You have to have a very light hand to do brush work and get that Frank Frazetta thin line, and also the Bernie Wrightson thin line. And to his credit, even though Klobby doesn't like him as much when he's, because mainly the penciling Klobby doesn't like, not the inking, but Kelly Jones has a very, very good ink line with the brush, and he uses mostly brush. And it's very difficult. It took me 15 years to learn how to ink with a brush. It took me 7 years how to ink with a Hunt 100 nib and a Hunt 104 and a Hunt 22. I didn't use the Gillot. That was actually recommended to me by Carl Potts, who I used to, and Carl Potts used to ink a lot of his own work, but Carl Potts had a much heavier hand than I did. And I liked a little... Klobby knows how much I love, God rest his soul, Kevin O'Neill. I like those little engraved finicky lines. I love those finicky lines, man. And I don't like these, as much as I like Gibbons in terms of a storyteller, I don't like those huge sort of pen lines that he uses. And that's done with a Hunt 22, which is a totally different nib. The Hunt 22, you guys will recognize it. And I know Mark will recognize this. Okay, so you have the BMX bikes from around 1999, and then in 1977 you had the Schwinn Phantom.
Yeah, those Schwinn classic bikes. Yep.
The Hunt, which were indestructible but heavy and slow, and the Hunt 22 is the Schwinn.
They were
Phantom.
heavy. They were heavy. Yeah.
You could lift weights with those, man. You could get.
Oh God, they were like 40 pounds. I remember when I got, I finally got like a good 10-speed in high school. Like when back then in the 80s, then everyone was getting 10 speeds. Not like you have off-roaders now. Yeah. I'm like, my God, this bike is so light. It was a Fuji bike. I'm like, my God, I can ride so much faster. This is so, and it has gears too. Before you had the 3-speed on the other ones sometimes.
You showed us a picture of you around 17 or 18 years old, right? When you were doing, on one of your streams, you showed us when you were young and you were sitting on one of your first cars.
Oh, my Mustang, yeah. Oh, I still have it. Yeah, 67 Mustang. Yep.
And I was looking at your pecs, your deltoids, and your biceps, and because I'm an illustrator, I'm going to do that, right? I'm going to make comparisons. So and we're talking about those super light 10 speeds. You probably did, or at least you could have lifted that 10-speed bike with 2 fingers with one.
Oh yeah, those were light bikes then. Yeah, I mean now of course they're even more amazing. They're composite but I mean the bike wasn't for off-roading though. Now everyone has those off-road bikes, which are fun, but back in the day, and then I think I told the story too. I had the banana bike.
Yeah, and, I had one of those.
Yeah, and with the 3-speed, I was the coolest kid. Everyone, you think you're the coolest kid in town when you get those. And back then, Evel Knievel was jumping bikes. He was massive, super. So he was like a living superhero back then. Everyone
but those
loved
banana
Evel
bikes,
Knievel.
dude. That seat was comfortable.
Oh
That
yeah,
seat
it was great.
and you could lean back. Remember, it had that weird
Oh, with the
wire thing at the
handlebars.
back.
Yeah, it was great. But then what I did, I jumped it and I missed the ramp and I hit a rock and I
Oh,
did like
oh,
a 360
oh,
and I totaled the bike and I'm walking the bike home. I don't know how I didn't die. And I was all cut up and nails mangled and scratches and all over. And I'm walking home. I'm like, I think the bike's okay. I think it's okay. And my mom stops at the stop sign on her street and the wheel just like rolls off in front of her, the front wheel. I was like,
That's like a
oh.
1980s teen comedy.
Yeah,
man.
I would have been if you had that on film, it would have been and it was a lot of money to get that bike back then, I'm sure, for my parents. So it was I still managed to have kids after that. Yeah.
There's the humiliation in the physical failure when your parents see what you did.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I made the mistake of trying to go too fast on one of those super light 10 speeds.
Yeah.
Right on a big hill. And I didn't take into account that I'm not that good at steering. Okay. and I stacked and I rolled and then the bike rolled and then the bike hit me and then I rolled and then the bike hit me again. And my face ground up on the gravel and then went into that
hurts,
weird.
yeah.
Oh, and then it went into that weird like bark chip stuff that people had in the 70s, and I had all these splinters in my lip, and my lip had swelled up to, I actually measured it when I got home, 2 inches wide, and I had swelled shut. And I looked like I had been 3 rounds with Rocky, and it was terrible. And my parents said, "What happened?" And my only answer was, "I was stupid." And I went into my room.
Well, JT Kirk, you're saying that some of Mark Measure kids, one of my fun moments with one of the kids, Tom in the neighborhood. He was like 5 or 6 years old. I was like 5 years old. He was like 12, say, or whatever. And there was a jump they would do. This is Evel Knievel stuff. Everyone was jumping their bikes back.
Hey, JC. Sorry.
And that's okay. Yeah. Hey, JC. And he was a route like where you could jump, like make a ramp. So Tommy goes up really high and he lands and he comes off the pedal and he hits the middle bar, lands right on his, his family jewels. No, and he comes off the bike and he's puking, he's rolling around. I'm like, Daddy, what is it? What's wrong? What happened to that? He's like, someday you'll know, son. Someday you'll know.
Let's hope he never knew.
Yeah, no, he's just telling me someday I'll know. Yeah, but it was like I remember him hopping around and it was so bad. Of course, you don't have these. It's like jackass stuff, but
our new friend JC's here, who popped in I think last night. You know something, JC? I don't think I could, but I'm willing to bet that Hungry Boy could recommend a book about inking if anyone can.
Okay, can I?
And thank you for your kind words.
I will address that, but let me just also say, Maddie's daddy, or Steve, is absolutely correct. Artists look at people differently, and he says an artist knows more about what your ears look like than you do. I pay attention to ears because ears are very, very difficult.
I've heard that.
If you pay attention, if you start listening to what I said, you start looking at different ears from the Silver Age and the Golden Age to the Bronze Age. Some people do ears very well. Perez did great ears. Gil Kane did great ears. And some ears are just terrible. But I always refer to the hands and the feet because that's the easiest for people to relate to. But getting back to what Mr. J.
Definitely hearing you on that one. I did that 3 times. That bad joke 3 times, and everyone missed it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I heard you. Go for it.
But there's actually not a lot of good reference material about inking. I don't mean to sound like a cliche, but there was the tiny bit about inking regarding materials and then the use of inking in how to draw comics the Marvel way when it first came out. What was that, 78, 79?
Somewhere up in there.
Yeah. And that was a great book. I had, luckily I didn't lose it. I gave it to a friend who wanted to get into comic books. Because I said, I'm not going to look at it anymore. What is this, gathering dust? I mean, I've already had my career. But you go ahead and you take this. And it talked about the materials. It talked about the difference between a pen and a brush, about line weight, about rendering things too heavy versus rendering things too light. And they actually showed 3 examples of rendering things too light on Kirby with an Atlantean. No, actually, it wasn't Atlantis. I think it was Fantastic Four 101 by Romita when he was trying to look like Kirby for that little 2-issue interim. And And then they had the middle one, which was perfect. And then they had the lower one, which was really, really bad. And there aren't a lot of good books on inking, because a lot of when these books came after bad inking practices came out. So if you want to look at good inking and learn about it, you kind of have to look at the discussions in old blogs, anything you can find on the internet, any old dead tree technology, as we refer to paper now, in order to learn about the practice. So you need to know about the difference between a 100 nib, a Gillot Blue. These days, a lot of the kids, and that means anyone under 35 to me, a lot of the kids are using something called a G-Pen nib that comes from Japan, which is used for a lot of manga. And that's actually very good for traditional comic book inking. And you also have to know about the consistency and the viscosity of ink, because ink can get thick. You know, just like if you have a really good sauce in cooking, Mark will know, you leave it out too much, you don't take care of it, the consistency can go bad. It can start clogging
Yeah,
up.
it gets solid. It gets too solid. Yeah, yep.
Right. And that happens with paints, that happens with inks. So you need
Well, that's
to
the
know
trick
about
with airbrushing too. Like airbrushing, it's
Oh,
so critical
God,
how
tell
the
me about it.
viscosity. It's not
Oh, it
easy.
had to be.
I'm
Oh,
surprised at you, Hungry Boy, that
What?
you forgot one book that there is. There is a book out there
you don't
that is
mention
dedicated to the master of the greatest inker of all time, and I cannot believe you left it out. It's called The Thin Black Line, and it's dedicated to the greatest inker ever, Vince Coletta. I can't even say it without laughing. Vince Coletta.
I thought you were being considerate about my blood pressure, Clubby. I thought we went over this an hour and a half ago with Tripwire. I thought you were being concerned for my welfare.
I probably ought to, I might have to order this. It's actually cheap now. Are you familiar with this book?
It's $8.
Steve,
Wow,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
$7
Under
now.
50. Exactly. But you know, here's
right.
the thing that's a tragedy though about
Have you seen
Mr.
this
Coletta. Yeah, I've seen it.
Right.
But the tragedy is when you look at some of these reproductions, these really good reproductions of what the original art looked like when Vinny was inking Kirby, like with the original Frightful Four, and you see the way it was published. The thing was that Vinny, and I said this in chat like last year, the thing was he was doing his artisan fine nib, fine brush inking thing and saying, screw the reproduction process, not taking into account the reproduction process was going to drop about 30% of those lines out, particularly because of the 4-color process and the newsprint. So he was kind of being prideful there. And when you look at the actual finished work, when it's reproduced by a camera, and it's just in black and white, it does look a lot more beautiful, but that doesn't excuse leaving out backgrounds. That doesn't excuse leaving things out of costumes. That doesn't excuse the other stuff. But then again, deadline's always the excuse, right, guys?
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, I know that
Come on,
feeling.
now you don't have this book, or you're trying to tell me you never bought this book. To be fair, it's
Damn it,
this
Clubby.
book. This book is actually about. No, it's about the controversy. That's actually an interesting. It's TwoMorrows, my favorites, right? It is about. You know, the most. I mean, they made what other inker would ever have a book made about them, about how controversial they are? But
Well,
Vinny
no, that's
Coletta.
true. There has absolutely never been a more controversial inker. Never, except when we're talking with Steve and we mention Joe Sinnott, and then
Yeah,
we
but
get into
that's just a difference of opinion over an artist, though. Most of it. Look, he's the only one. He's the only guy you're ever going to hear that doesn't like Joe Sinnott. So sorry.
No. But I agree with you. I'm the middle ground between you and Steve. Like politically and culturally, I'm the middle ground between you and Raquel, which I'm sure you picked up on, right? And I love that. And that's one of the beautiful things about this channel is people are so different on this channel. But it's like the Avengers. There's so many different personalities, and yet we're all banding together. But with Steve and Sinnott, there is, and
Yeah.
I said this to Steve
too,
in the
Steve.
chat.
What a troublemaker, huh, Steve? Good.
Yeah. But there's the Joe Sinnott from when he first introduces with Buscema, Big John Buscema, when he first introduces Mephisto, okay? And that beautiful inking in 1968, all right? And then you hit 1976 Senate and 1977 Senate, where it is like, and Steve will appreciate this, it's like trying to do tap dancing on an oil slick on a floor made of plexiglass. It's so slick and everything is slick and there's no texture anymore. There's no texture. So I know where Steve is coming from, but that's not the same as what was going on in the 60s, you know?
I will not allow any beating up of Joe Sennett. So, but especially when I wanted to beat up on Vince Coletta.
Oh, he said it again.
We're not here to...
You said that 3 times in the chat, Steve. Now,
Coletta.
So here's the thing about this book. Okay. This book, in the history of comic book art, Vince Coletta is perhaps the most prolific inker ever. And certainly the most controversial. He jumped in at the last minute to rescue hundreds of comic books about to miss their printing deadline, often racing through the work of artists who fans say he should have worshipped. In the 1960s, he gave Jack Kirby's Thor an atmospheric look many fans love even 40 years later, but got kicked off Kirby's Fourth World comics when in the 1970s for omitting details. Whether you loved his work or hated it, this book will enlighten, entertain, and expose a life and career as colorful as the 4-color comic books Coletta labored on for decades. Join Stan Lieber, Roy Thomas, Joe Sennett, Mike Royer, Carmen Infantino, Mark Evanier, and dozens of other comics pros, especially Hungry Boy, as they recall the Vince Coletta, who was probably nailing Jeanette Kahn, but we don't know. They knew and worked with. It's true. And pull no punches in their praise and criticism of the most notorious inker in the history of the medium, all surrounded by copious examples of Coletta art. Wow, that's nice. Including numerous before and after pencil to ink comparisons. Did he save the Silver Age of comics or ruin it? You decide.
And here's the other disagreement between me and Steve, because I love your co-cell. I know Steve don't like it.
Great.
I love your co-cell. I adore it. And I guarantee you, anyone here in Koala Wombat Land would love your co-cell too.
Oh,
I love your co-cell. Sorry, Steve. I do like his co-cell. I'm not saying that to
Good night, Ironhide.
Good night, Ironhide. Good night. Oh, geez. My eyes are watering, but in a good way. Oh, man. But I'll tell you what, Clubby. Next time we're on a stream together, not tonight, if we're going to talk about Coletta and inkers and other people and Perlin and everything else, you will go co-cell, and I'm going to go Rodney Dangerfield. Okay?
Go for
it. Then that'll be a fun time. That'll be a fun time. But I want you all rested up for that, because I'm going to beg you not to do it. I'm going to beg you not to do it. But I adore your Captain Caveman. I do, because I watched every episode of Captain Caveman when I was a kid. I adored that. And it was a very, very entertaining little show. I know Hanna-Barbera was just, they were like, when people say about streaming services now, it's just about content. It's merely about filling in the hours so people have eyeballs on the screen. Well, Hanna-Barbera was doing that from circa 1970 to 1986, right? So we can't come down on that stuff too heavily, but Hanna-Barbera gave us a lot of really fun things, and there's the difference, the fun in it. And that's where the inking should be artistic and penciling should be artistic in comic books, but there should have and this is going back to cooking, like Mark, okay, like when you do the rub for the meat, right? When you know what I mean by the rub, and you can explain it.
Critical. Yep.
Exactly. The spices mean everything, but not just added once cooked, rubbed into the meat.
And you gotta let it sit for a little bit too. Yep.
Exactly. It's like, and also the marinade, or marinade as the Americans say. Okay. Yep. You need the Good night, Ironhide. For comic book art, you need the infusion, the rub, the marinade of fun alongside the skill.
Or the injection.
I'll go with injection. I can do that.
I just want
Yep.
to say that there's no way I can compete with Mel Blanc's Captain Cave. I mean, no one can compete with that.
Yeah, but he's gone now, so I'm sticking with
Yeah.
you, bro.
That's pretty damn good.
And also,
but-
Captain Caveman had his quiet moments too. He was very good to those girls he was helping solve the crimes with. He was very respectful. That was something that was really funny that until you're an adult, you don't get it. Okay, caveman, that's supposed to represent bonk chick on head, drag chick to cave, have way with chick. And yet caveman was the utter gentleman to all those women he was
The teen angels or whatever they were.
Yes, yes. And more so than in Speed Buggy. I mean, we can talk about the Hanna-Barbera stuff until the cows come home, but and also I get fussy, and you have said, you know, I'm a little bit of a prude when it comes to art. Oh, he's a little bit picky. He's a little bit finicky. He's got a little bit of attitude around the people who draw and paint. Fair enough. Okay, but can you argue about that when we look at the majesty that Alex Toth helped bring together for us with the original 1960s Johnny Quest? I mean, that spoils you, right?
It's a classic.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Great show.
There'd
Yeah, I
be
love
no
it.
Venture Brothers without Johnny
Doug
Quest.
Wildey. Yeah.
And the Venture
Doug
Brothers are
Wildey,
great.
of course.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. And you
But,
look at
no, there you go.
I apologize for not remembering the man's name, but also I've never been able to pronounce it properly. But there was a magnificent Japanese gentleman who worked alongside Toth to help create the initial images and character designs and look of Scooby-Doo in 1969. And people always think Scooby-Doo came out in the 70s. No, 1969.
60s, yeah,
And-
late 60s. 69,
and
dude.
You just get the feel for it. And it's just like the wonderful people who created the Jerry Anderson stuff. I mean, okay, now I know Raquel don't like the puppets. I
Oh,
like
God, I
the
love those puppets. God,
I love
those
the puppets. And and you'll agree with
We
me,
suspend
Mark,
the belief after a while that when you start watching, you forget they're puppets.
And-
And I hope that doesn't sound crazy, but I
No,
just
it doesn't
do.
go crazy because this goes back to what we were talking about with Conroy the other night. Okay, God, R.I.P. Mr. Conroy. The voice acting is so good, you forget you're looking at a piece of material. You feel
Yeah.
like you're looking at a person, and the costumes
Of course.
the costumes had so much care and consideration and artistry put into them. They
And
were
the
better
vehicles.
than the vehicles, but the costumes, Mark, the costumes.
Yeah, well, both.
Lady-
Yeah, everything all together. Yeah.
Lady
Lady
Penelope's
Penelope.
evening gowns were better than a lot of what the top chicks in James Bond got.
Oh,
The-
and her car was fantastic. I got a model
that
that I still have to
car.
build. I love that car with the double wheels.
Oh,
So-
six,
such a great
six
design.
wheels on each side, six
Yeah.
wheels.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah.
And her chauffeur being able to drive like an Indy racer,
Yeah.
you know? And that car, when you look at it, because you're the engineer, you would realize in terms of 60s metal and materials, that would have been a very heavy car. So what engine did they have in that to go so fast?
V12, yeah.
Jeez, it had to be a jet engine or something.
Or an 18. There were some 18 cylinders too out there. Yep. Or you could do a
Absolutely,
jet
Steve.
turbine too. In the 60s, they were putting jet turbines in cars.
Yeah.
Steve, can I just read this out from Steve? 'Cause
Absolutely,
this
Steve.
just kills me.
We need to do this. Yeah.
Steve says, Clubby does a lot of great impressions. And Howard Cosell.
He just doesn't like Howard. He just doesn't like Howard.
I mean, I got to see Howard Cosell in New York one time. And we all waved him. We're on a field trip. I mean, Steve would have been giving him raspberries, I guess. I don't know.
What he
"It's
doesn't
Howard Cosell."
What he doesn't understand about Howard Cosell is you're not supposed to do a Howard Cosell impression. You're supposed to do an exaggerated version of
That's true, because that's what most people
Yeah.
recognize.
Everybody does it as a caricature. No one sounds exactly like him. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to talk in the exaggerated, hyperbolic way that Howard Cosell enunciated everything.
That's 100% true, because, you know, if somebody does an accurate Jack Nicholson from 5 Easy Pieces, which was long before The Shining, nobody knows who the hell you're
Right.
doing, even if
Yeah.
you nail it, you know. But if you do, well, like what all those stand-up comedians in 1982 were doing when they were all doing impressions and they were doing a bad Jack Nicholson, everybody gets it, even though it's not an accurate Jack.
I
Yeah,
just say
it's just
this.
the exaggeration. It's fun. Yeah.
I
And
would
it's
just
the
say
same with Kirby.
Sorry.
Oh,
would
sorry,
just say to
my
Steve-
apologies. I jumped in. Sorry.
I was just going to say to Steve, laddie, Don't you think you should rephrase that? Sorry. I appreciate that on the Scotty, but you can see with Scotty, you can only do certain quotes as far as actually, doing him just like a normal, like, quote in some of his normal lines. But if you quote some of his famous lines, like everyone does it, like, "Cut that, I give her all she got." Some of the classic things that Scotty said.
Yep. Yeah, giving her all she's got. Captain, we need more. More power. Yeah.
It's green.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's green. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. I must have missed something. I was just, for sake of verisimilitude, as Captain Finity would say, otherwise known as Cockney Spock. I just let the sound in the background instead of.
No, I got you.
Sometimes that's fun.
Yeah, but well, thank you. I appreciate that, Steve. But see, then you can't do that line without doing the whole scene. Like when you go, "Laddie, don't you think you should rephrase that?" Then you can. You're right. I should. I didn't mean to say that the Enterprise should be hauling garbage. I meant to say that it should be hauled away as garbage. Then you got that music, and he punches him. Boom.
And yet these are not the top two Clobby impersonations or impressions, as the comedians used to say, because I know the top two. I think Mark's going to agree with me, and I know Lord Thoth would agree with me.
Which one?
And now the second one, number two in the impersonation list of Clobby out of the top 10. Number 2 is the Gorn, which is hard on your voice.
Yeah,
so please
Gorn
don't
is
do it.
great,
Don't do it because it's going to be hard. But but there's one that's going to be easy on your voice, but you do better than I've heard anyone else say.
Oh my goodness.
Aurak. You do the best bloody
Aurak.
Aurak.
He does a great Aurak, yeah.
That Aurak is just, Jude, it's Wagyu beef. Oh, it's so good.
Billet weighs 73 kilos, Avon.
Yes, thank you.
Avon is, of course, he's different. You can't. Hello there, colonizer.
And that's my favorite episode. And you made fun of me for being an evil bastard for liking that episode.
I love Orbit. I have it fairly decently high. I love Orbit.
That's a good episode.
But it's disturbing.
I'm glad I'd be in big trouble. I weigh way too much. Mark D weighs 300,000 kilos.
Way more than we weigh more than the damn speck of neutron material, both of us.
Hey, Mark, if it was me on that ship, it never would have taken off.
Yeah.
Same here.
You're grounded.
I would have been the speck of neutron material in my ass.
I was traveling for work one time on a small plane for the company to go to West Virginia, and then there was one of the engineers was like 350 pounds. It was a 6-person or 8-person plane. The pilot's like, "Nope, he's not getting on. not happening."
Oh, they didn't let you get on.
For the guy.
Oh, the puddle jumper.
Oh yeah,
it was a puddle jumper.
Yeah, it was a company private plane, so it was going from Bridgeport to the factory in Lycoming factory in West Virginia. And they wouldn't let the guy in the plane. They're like, you weigh too much. You can't get, it's just too small of a plane. And we felt bad for the guy too, but we're like, it was embarrassing, but it was like, it's not. And plus, I guess a small plane like that, the balance matters too, more than big plane.
Well, that's true.
It doesn't matter, but the balance and he was a really big guy. No, and I'm way too damn big now too. Back then I was, I think, 180 or 185, but I mean, I felt bad, but yeah, that's what.
But also, can I bring up an engineering thing with you, where in the 80s, a lot of these puddle jumpers were retrofitted planes from an earlier time when people were smaller. So you look at someone from the size of Clark Gable, of course they're going to fit in the plane.
Yeah.
Right?
We're a lot bigger now.
Nutrition. Yeah. There's a whole reason why a bunch of us are a lot bigger, and we have to work out to compensate for that weight. Yeah. Wait, not that I'm going to do it.
In my case, it's called M&M's.
Well, I remember the show Frontier House. If you guys remember that show from PBS in the 90s, and so what they did, they put families on farms, like it was like 1885 or Little House on the Prairie, and and you had to work all the time. Just your whole day was physical labor. Mm-hmm. And one of the dads was like 185, and he's like, "I'm losing weight. I'm down to 150. I'm having massive headaches all the time."
Yeah.
And the doctor's like comes, on the set. He's like, "Well, actually, you're at your correct weight. You're not drinking enough water. You have to drink more water." And the guy was like, "That's more true. Fit." And then after he was because you're literally doing physical, labor all day.
Yes.
And so it was amazing to see. And then like they went into they found a bed. That was one of the scandals on the show. They found a broken bed somewhere, and then they brought the bed into the house because the bed from the 1800s is so uncomfortable. They hid it, and then the crew found it after, I guess, or whatever. But yeah, it was amazing to see how your whole day was spent, making food, farming, washing clothes took all day, without all the modern conveniences. And he's like, no, you're not too light. You're actually, that's how much you should weigh, So yeah, we're a lot bigger these days.
Nice.
A lot of aggression, along with a lot of pizza.
Pizzas. Nice, Thor.
Yeah,
I can.
You know what he's quoting
that,
there, right? You know what that quote's from? Anyone?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Bueller.
John Candy from Stripes.
Oh God, I haven't seen that in so many years. Oh, that was a beautiful
Pizzas.
film.
And
That
John
was a
Candy is
beautiful
the
film.
best person
Yes, it was.
his character. That's the best person ever to learn poker from too. He's the great poker.
And he was
teacher
in that. He was teaching poker very well.
Oh, as a side note, I don't want to go into it as a side note, but I really don't want to go into it. You know who is a world champion poker player? Is a woman who's considered previously and still to this day one of the sexiest women in horror and genre films, and that is Jennifer Tilly.
Oh yeah, she's great at poker.
Oh God, she's
Yeah,
made over $3 million in poker.
Yeah, but she just wears a low cut dress, and you're just concentrating on anything else. Let's just be honest.
Well, if you're a
cross that
boob guy,
table from
yeah.
her?
But Claudia,
you're
not
not-
to be crass, I'm a Salma Hayek guy, so she's not going to distract me.
If you're not a boob guy, you're not a guy. So sorry.
No, nay, you tell that to Brazil, boy. You tell that to Brazil and Africa. That is not true. That's not true.
If you're not a boob guy, worry about your priorities. But
Well, I'm giving you a lot of ammunition to make fun of me later. But
you guys called me Francis. I don't care.
Oh, geez.
Lighten up, Francis.
I saw The Birds with Rod Taylor, okay, and I love Suzanne Pleshette in that film. And I got through the film and I thought, you couldn't have her walk away from the camera once, not once. Jeez,
Loved her, even on Bob on Bob Newhart.
Oh yes, oh she was wonderful. What a great character actress and a very serious drama actress, and very good at comedy. There's a film with Ian McShane who was in Deadwood. He was the bad guy in Deadwood, and a fantastic character actor. But they were in a romantic comedy. Yes, and Lovejoy. And they were in a romantic comedy together. And it was either late 60s or early 70s called If It's Tuesday, It Must Be Belgium. And
I've heard of that.
It's delightful. There's nothing naughty in it. I recommend it to everybody. If you want something light and you just want to turn off your brain from like all the geek stuff that's driving us crazy every month of every year, it's a lovely little film to watch. But of course, I have a lot more recommendations when it comes to the sci-fi stuff, etc. Oh, and as a joke for you and Mark, I did give, and I'm glad Raquel didn't go into it. I did give a recommendation for her to watch After Solaris, going back to the 50s.
The original one, obviously, yeah. I know.
Well, actually,
After
there's two.
Solaris,
There
was
was
a sequel.
No,
there's a remake.
Oh, sorry.
George Clooney.
There's the 1968, which I love, black and white Soviet television series in 2 parts of Solaris. Then there was the 72 version, and then there was that crap which must never be mentioned again with the Clune
That Mark just mentioned.
Yes.
Well, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm not making fun of you. I'm making fun of the Clune.
Yeah, I know,
okay.
yeah.
And as I said to Mr.
Batman with
Angel,
nipples. Batman with nipples.
As I said to Mr. Angel, and he laughed about this. I said to Anti-Derivative Jill, and she laughed. And one of her best friends on her stream, Scotty, I said, Event Horizon was Solaris made for dumbasses who grew up with MTV who like bad drugs.
Wow.
Which one was Event Horizon? Was that the one with
Sam
Clooney?
Neill did that, didn't he?
Sam Neill. Sam Neill was.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the
Event
Sam
Horizon.
Neill one. Okay.
And also the son of John Pertwee was a major character in Event Horizon.
Sean Pertwee's in that, huh? Yeah.
Yes, and that's the reason I watched it. Although I do like Sam Neill, but I mainly watched it for Pertwee's son, who I give credit to him. And let's go geek here for a moment. He's not riding on his dad's coattails. He has a totally different acting style.
Yeah, but I wish he would. Believe me, I wish they would have made that Doctor Who special during the Capaldi era where he meets the third Doctor. They let Sean Pertwee play him. He good.
Yes.
Did you see him cosplaying
Yes.
as the third Doctor, as his pappy? Good God, man.
Wow.
And so he's not
cool.
he's not riding his dad's coattails, but he's not like some of these Hollywood bleep bleeps.
Hey, shooter.
The Hollywood bleep bleeps who want to pretend that their parents who helped them get into the industry never existed in the first place, which I don't agree with either. I don't like nepotism, but I think don't bite the hand that feeds, and do not be disrespectful to the people that helped you in.
Shooter.
Know? So,
Shooter's here.
But there are so many great science fiction and comics and all these recommendations we can give. But Pertwee, I honestly think, is just when he's allowed to be, he's what comedians call, and Chrissy Mayer has used this term, a beast. Like when you let him get on stage and just do his thing, he slays the audience and he can nail it every time. And he's got these little twitches of the eyelashes and, this little quirk of the mouth, and he's subtle, but he can go broad as well. Just like Buscema. Buscema could be really subtle and then go over the top with his work.
Let's say hello to Shooter and Matthew
Hello,
Pounder.
Shooter.
What's up, buddies?
I love
Good
you,
to see
Shooter.
ya.
You're a great guy. You do our country proud.
What
mate.
was
You really do.
what was Cardinal Sin talking about? Matty Saddy? This very thing. What? I'm not sure which very thing we've been a lot of very thinking, so I don't know which one he's referring to that you're talking about there. But well, you want to hear something weird that I heard today?
I'd love
Sure.
to.
You want to hear something that weirded me to freak out?
Is this good weird or bad weird?
It's good weird, but it's
Okay,
weird.
I'm in.
Unless I told this, I remember talking to Raquel before the show, mentioning it, but I don't know if I did it on air or not. I don't think I did. Now, I was talking to Minimus today,
Minimus.
and Minimus was talking. He's got a friend of his that he's known for 40 years. Did I talk about this earlier with Jar Jar Abrams?
No, not that I recall.
I don't know this one yet.
All right. He's known
was here at the
a friend
beginning, no,
a friend we've known for he's known for like over 40 years, and I've known him, but I haven't seen the guy in decades because he moved up north. But I know him, I know him, but only in the old days when we used to hang out with him at LSU and stuff back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But he talks to him every day, just about it. They talk all the time for hours, whatever. And I don't know how he and his friend, let's call him D, because his name starts with, got on the discussion of Jar Jar Abrams, whatever it was. And he remembered, he said, "Oh yeah," and he tells Minimus, "Oh yeah, I was up in what happened to me was weird. I was up at Midtown Comics in New York because he was way up north." And he said, "I got in a conversation with this dude. This was a few years back, a while back. I got in this conversation with this guy about Star Trek, and we started talking about Jar Jar Abrams, and we were both calling him that. The guy apparently was not a fan either."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I happened to mention to the guy that I know the guy who gave him the name Jar Jar Abrams. And by the way, you're talking to him. I did. 2009, he got that. I put it out there on the internet first on my show and even on Trek Space and everywhere else. Obviously, I'm half kidding because how could I possibly know for sure? But I'm pretty sure I put it out
first, right?
I take credit for it, and it got because he knows that he knows he's been called Jar Jar Abrams.
What an insult to Jar Jar.
So the guy, you know what the guy says to him?
Mm-hmm.
The guy says, "No, I'm afraid not, unless your friend's name is," and I'm not going to say it here. My name here. He gave him my name and the town I live in. This guy in New York. He said the guy knew your name. The guy knew your name and where you live. Me. I'm like, how is that even possible? I have no way how it's possible.
I like that,
but it is weird. It makes me proud.
Like Can I add something to back you up on this, which is rather funny because God, it's such a small world, Clubby. It's such a small world. Okay, the first time I ever saw the term Jar Jar Abrams was on a message board in early 2011, and somebody used it, and they were referencing him. And I mean, I had been pissed off at Jar Jar ever since I saw the pilot of Lost. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people.
And because I knew where it was going to go, and then it was a couple of months later, and the production company and people on the internet was like, no, it's not metaphysical. It's not about purgatory. It's not about purgatory at all.
I'm so glad I stopped watching that show.
It's totally science fiction based. It's got nothing to do with the afterlife. You're all making up stuff in your head. And then we all saw the ending and thought, it's
Apologist.
But so anyway, in 2011, this guy, I can't remember his name. He was just a message board guy. I shouldn't say just a message board guy, but he's not on YouTube. He's not a comic book professional, etc. He makes us all laugh with that term, and we all compliment him. And he says, well, actually, I can't take credit for that term. I heard that back in 2009 from this guy who does this kind of radio show about comic books.
You're kidding me.
Hysterical.
You're making that
That's
up.
awesome.
No, I'm not.
Come on.
That's great.
Wow. I hope he knows.
amazing.
I hope somehow he knows it. He probably don't know who did it, but I wish he did.
And so you're telling me this story, and I'm thinking this is some
Weird.
weird time loop that even Captain Cockney Spock must accept, even though he hates the time loop.
Crazy.
I actually know, to
That's
be fair, he
amazing.
doesn't mind the time loops if they're closed, properly. But we don't want to go into time loops here because he'll magically appear and we'll get
You will.
sidetracked.
Yes, we'll be in trouble.
I love him.
I've heard similar things to this before, but this was weird. I said, when this guy tell him that? He said, I don't know. He said, it's probably been a while now, a couple of years, but he just thought of it and told me this. Like, wow, it's said my name and where I live. Jesus.
You're living
And he
rent free in his head. That's awesome. Yep.
This guy was like, this guy wasn't a fan either. He just, how do you remember my name and where I live and stuff? That's spooky.
Yeah, I don't like the where you live stuff. I don't mind using the name, but yeah.
Well, hopefully he just said the city. I mean,
He did. Yeah, he didn't say the
It's a big
address.
city.
I mean,
Oh,
big
all right. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
in the
not your
city.
address. Yeah.
No, but still weird.
Yeah,
I don't care. It's probably been years now since he said it's been a while.
Yeah.
And
So,
by
not
the
a
way,
big deal, but weird.
Shooter and Thor, you missed nothing. Unless, of course, I mean, I will say this for Lost. It was kind of like a Beckett play where that the plot is a furphy, the plot is a MacGuffin, the plot's not going to go anywhere. You're never going to get any satisfaction. It's all about watching the people who are
Evangeline
the
Lilly.
actors. Yeah, well, playing the actor. I liked Hurley. I watched it for Hurley.
Hurley
thought
was great. Yeah. Hurley
and
was a good character.
and a lot of the other characters. So you're watching it for.
Oh, and Gage from
drama.
Emergency was on, or DeSoto. What's the actor's name?
I can't
He was the
remember, but-
father.
Yes.
Oh, he was good. He's such a great actor from Emergency.
DeSoto.
I mean,
DeSoto.
realistically, and one of my favorite, and Clubby may not know this because he doesn't do the horror stuff, but Mark and I have a mutual appreciation of budget movie, B movies, horror stuff. Okay, so
Do you, Mark?
Yeah,
Yes,
I do like. Yeah, I
Okay,
do like.
I didn't know. I
Yeah,
Mark knows a lot of the. Mark and I have seen a lot of the same movies, but
Easy, like sci-fi, horror, fantasy. Yeah.
yeah.
nope.
So there's a movie franchise series called the Wishmaster series, which
Yeah, those
has
are
this
great.
which has a wonderful Russian-American actor called Davidov. And Davidov was one of the character actors in Lost. And so when he came on, I thought, okay, yeah, I get out, you drag me back in again, and Davidoff was wonderful, and he was the only reason to watch the Wishmaster series. Yeah.
Oh, and then remember the line when in court where, guy's in jail with his lawyer and he says,
yeah,
go screw yourself. And then the guy like, you better not say what
as
happened.
you wish.
Yeah, that was one of the worst scenes I've ever seen in a movie. My God.
Oh, but there was the other
not for
one
Raquel.
where the
But
guy
with
where
the
the guy
comedy to
says the guy says to the Wishmaster, the Djinn, he says, I just wish I could squeeze through these jail bars. As you wish. And the guy just is forced through the bars. And his head's
so brutal. Not for Raquel.
no. And actually, sometimes I gave a warning to Raquel. This goes back to what I was saying originally. The one, and Mark will know this reference. Clobby might know this reference, but it's a classic science fiction film from the late 50s, maybe mid 50s in Britain. The Fiend Without a Face, which was highly touted. It was highly touted by Forrest J. Ackerman in Famous Monsters. And I had to wait until I was in my 20s to see it. And Forrest J. Ackerman did not exaggerate. It's wonderful. But by Raquel standards, It does have a grody scene at the end, a very grody scene. So I warned her about that. I said, only watch this when you're feeling better.
Yeah.
But
What about the man with two brains or two heads? That was a classic 70s horror.
Oh, the
B-horror.
man with two heads.
The man with
That's
two
like
heads.
MST3K material.
Yeah, that's another classic one. Yeah,
And
but without too much gore, though. Without too much gore. Yeah, I've moved away from the slasher stuff. When I was in high school, we'd watch all the slasher stuff. You know,
I like real horror. There's
of
got to be a monster or an alien in it, you know. But if it's just some guy in a hockey mask with a machete, I'm out. You know. But if there's some metaphysical aspect to it or science fiction aspect to it, I'm in. But I mean, anybody can go off their nut and carve somebody up.
Yeah, and keep coming back. Jason
Exactly.
X, Jason in space. That was awesome.
That's the only one I didn't see. Because you know, somebody very similar to Clobby once said to me, well, you didn't like 2 movies of the Friday the 13th series. You can't really complain about it until you've seen most of them. And I thought, game on. And so I saw every single one but that. I got 15 minutes into that, and it was like watching 15 minutes of the Eternals. I tapped out. I couldn't handle it. The Eternals after 15 minutes, I've got it on my hard drive. I'm trying to watch it. And I just can't handle it. I can't. It's just
don't bother.
It's like a telenovela without any charm or passion to it. There's no passion in it. There's no passion. Everybody seems like they're just sleepwalking through everything.
Oh, it's so boring. It's just such a boring movie. I mean, whatever you say about the characters, just as a movie, and that's what I'm hearing about the new Black Panther. It's you know, on one level there's the characterizations, but on the other level I'm hearing it's my son said he's like, this is the first time I ever got bored in a Marvel movie.
You mean for Wakanda?
First time? Yeah.
Well, I don't think he saw Eternals in his defense. But he went to see it. He's like, yeah, it was really, he's like, it got really boring for a while. And he's just a normie. I'm a bad dad. He's a normie. You know,
probably tried.
Probably knows
I'm sure
a
you
little
tried.
bit more. I did try. Yeah, he knows more than but we like our thing was watching Arrow when it first came out, and then Flash.
Arrow was good in the first couple of seasons, or 2 seasons. 2 seasons.
You cannot create the geek gene. It's either there or it isn't. It's like, you know, I mean, I try. My kids, for example, mine both got this. I'm the first one in my entire family that got the geek gene.
You got infected.
I mean it. However, although I married, you know, a woman that was also, I met at a con, so the geek gene passed from both of us. It was strong enough to pass to both of our children. Problem is, they don't like this. It's still not perfect. They have it, but they don't like
stuff,
we're not into all the same stuff. They're both into.
Okay.
Let's see, my daughter's into cosplay and anime and some video games and things like that. Whereas my son is into, he does like some anime and some manga and you know, and video games. The difference is, though, of course, I still raised them right because I made them make sure that they had a proper dose of the classics. My son has a proper respect for real Star Trek. He loves Wrath of Khan. He still loves real Trek. He loves. I made them both watch and have the proper respect for Star Wars and Doctor Who. And I made them read comics. Like I said, they both read mostly manga. But my son, when he was old enough, I made him read Watchmen. He loves Watchmen so much that in 2009 when we went to the movie to see it, the opening day, we took that day off. It was a big deal. In September, I'll never forget. It was March like 9th or something when it opened on a Friday or whatever it was, and we go see it. And after the movie, look, I was such a stickler for the actual comic that I had a lot of problems with the movie, needless to say. But we walked out, and we were so crowded. He sat with his friends, and I ended up sitting with mine. And so I walked out. My friends were laughing at some of the crap I was saying during the movie. I walked out, and we start talking to when I said something to his friends, and I said, "So, what'd you guys think of it?" And one of his friends says, "It was okay, but I had more fun listening to him bitching and yelling, pointing to my son." He was not happy. He hates it. And he was going nuts. He was worse than. They told him he was worse than you.
Oh, that is a compliment.
Made you proud.
Yeah, and even but he's not, and he just loves the comic. But he's not like a big comics freak like I am. But he has all the proper respect for the good stuff.
Well, here's a question, Clobby, for you and your son. I don't know if your son has read V for Vendetta, but in your opinion,
I don't think so.
was Watchmen a better film adaptation, or was V for Vendetta a better one?
He did like the movie and but I don't think he ever read V for Vendetta, but he did read the comics. So, so just answering for myself, V for Vendetta is probably a little bit better, but it takes some liberties as well. It changes some things. It does. Whereas the Watchmen film, the biggest problem with the Watchmen film, was one of the reasons why I started my show to bitch about that movie.
Oh, really?
Even though it was later after the movie came out that I was able to get going. It was for that. No, that was part of it. The biggest reason was the 2009 Trek garbage movie. So anyway, I would say that the Watchmen film, in the months leading up to it, I was part of that big group online that was really going after Zack Snyder to get it where he was like always. He communicated with us sometimes and say, "Hey, man, look, I got you guys. I got you guys. I'm right there where I love it. You're gonna love it. You're gonna be happy. You're gonna be happy." We have Dave Gibbons on the set. We have a copy of the trade paperback on the set. So then a few months in, leading up to the release of the film, we started hearing things like about advanced screenings, like this is going to be no squid. We're like, what do you mean? He kept saying there is going to be. He kept saying there is going to be a squid. No squid. No. So
he lied. He lied.
He lied his ass off.
He did lie. Yeah.
We were pissed off.
I did like the ending in the movie.
I hate
you ruined it for me.
I'm glad I ruined it for you.
I have never stopped being pissed off about no space squid. I am still pissed off about that because that is a direct middle finger up to the Outer Limits, and the episode I'm talking about.
Yeah, Architects of Fear. Right,
exactly.
But that's the thing is, here are the things that I like about the movie, things I don't like in a nutshell, because of course that's like 20 streams, and I've done, believe me, I've done a lot of streaming about it early on. The theatrical cut versus the movie itself, whether you're talking theatrical cut, director's cut, or uber crazy director's ultra edition cut, which adds the Black Freighter back in and all that stuff. Actually integrates Black Freighter animated stuff into the movie.
The version I watch.
I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I have that. Yep.
Yeah, I actually don't. I watched it. They put it on Amazon one time. I watched it. I never bought it. I bought the I bought the director's cut and watched it back in the 90s. Back in 2009. But then I watched the one that one. I've seen the Uber edition. Just never bought it. But I'd like to get it. But
I bought that. Yeah, I bought that. Yeah.
So anyway, the movie in general, basically thoughts, regardless of which cut you watch, is the visuals in a lot of ways are fantastic. He captures the look of the comic and much of the aesthetic of the comic very well. Yeah. Some of the casting's brilliant. I mean, Jackie Earle Haley's up.
Yeah,
comedian's great. Jackie Earle Haley is fantastic. He lobbied to get that role. He filmed himself in his own living room, dressed up as Rorschach to get the role. He's brilliant. There are a lot of scenes here and there, but unfortunately, there are a lot of things some stylistic crap that I'm like, this is before I knew much about Snyder. Snyder throws a lot of stupid matrixy fight scenes in it. He got the ending wrong. Then too. He ruined Rorschach's origin. Because Rorschach's origin is ruined. Hey there, Lisa. Welcome back.
Hi,
Rorschach's
Lisa.
origin, in my opinion, Rorschach's origin is ruined because if you watch that scene, I mean, it looks good, but then when he sees that the scumbag has fed the little girl to the German shepherds, he just goes nuts and hacks him to death. That kills the meaning. In the comic, he chained the guy to a stove. He gave him a hacksaw, and then he lit the place. He threw gasoline all over because he gave him that. He goes, "I wouldn't bother trying, so you'd never make it." And then walked outside and torched the place. Just something
that's so brilliant.
It was brilliant.
Can I add a little Aussie anecdote to that? A little Aussie anecdote to that.
Okay.
That was done first in 1981 with the original Mad Max film. And Alan Moore kind of swiped
Alan Moore steals everything. We could do a show about Alan Moore's sources, dude.
Well, didn't Len Wein quit the book? He was an editor, and
he was the editor.
And he quit. He said it was because he wanted Moore to change the ending because it was too much like the Outer Limits Architects of Fear.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I did not know that. I did not know that.
I don't remember him quitting the book. I think he was the editor. I think he stayed in there the whole thing. I know he didn't approve of that, though. But he and Joe Orlando edited it, so you're probably right. Lynn probably to let Orlando take over it. But so another problem with the book, Alan. I mean, it's freaking Hack Snyder does not understand he proves in this movie, even though it's fun to watch it. It is an entertaining movie in a lot of ways. Let's go to the 90-foot blue guy on an IMAX screen with his wiener hanging out. All right. Okay, here's the problem.
Is that why you don't like IMAX to this day?
No, there you go.
I hit myself.
But seriously, let's be serious about it for a second. And exactly it's fine to see that on a little bitty comic book page. And it makes sense. Alan Moore was making a good point. He said the guy's so detached from reality, he just doesn't bother to wear clothes.
Yeah.
He says, and Moore even made a joke
in
his initial interview. Moore even made a joke. And if I was Superman, no one could tell me not to walk around naked. So Moore was saying it's just like he's so detached that he doesn't work fine. However, Hack Snyder, you're an idiot. You should have just put some kind of G-string on him, because the thing is, you're talking about the general public who doesn't know what this movie is. They walk in there and they see a 90-foot tall blue wiener all over the dude with a blue wiener hanging out. They're going to laugh at your movie. They're going to take him out of any serious. If he's covered up, they won't think about it. If he's strong and all over the place, and it could be a lot, because there were a lot of dumb parents that brought their kids to see what they thought was the superhero movie.
Rated R. It was hard R, wasn't it?
Rated R. It was R, but they're dumb. They don't get. They're morons. I'm telling you.
Well, there are a lot of dumb parents out there.
See, I'm saying this is not because I'm being a prude. I don't give a shit about. It's fine in the comic book. This is on a 90-foot screen where people are gonna. It takes you out of the seriousness of the scene because you're laughing. Who didn't laugh when you see like, oh my god?
Now I know why you don't like IMAX. You always say you don't like IMAX. That's probably why.
Right.
That's probably why you're probably
been
scared of the next movie you're going to go to. There's going to be.
No, I hate IMAX because of his other piece of garbage, Sucker Punch, that I got sucker punched into going to see.
Oh, what a dumb movie
By
that
Snyder,
was.
garbage. So anyway,
Hey,
all
Mark.
right. So I was just going to say, there's another problem with this freaking movie.
Okay.
His slow motion crap's bad enough. There's a scene in the comic when Rorschach gets caught by the cops. He jumps out of a window and crashes, and what happens? He breaks his leg and gets the shit kicked out of him. In this movie, same scene, he falls 5 stories. Then what happens? He jumps to his feet and goes Bruce Lee on 20 cops. Snyder. That's what my friends were talking about. I was yelling at the screen like, "Are you out of your fucking idiot?" And there are other scenes where there's some fight scenes where they're all like floating, or like flying around like they're in the Matrix. And I'm like, listen, the whole point of Watchmen was that in the real world, these characters would be clunky with these costumes. They would move around. They wouldn't be able to move like Batman can in a movie or in a comic. It would be realistically, they couldn't do this kind of crap where they're flying in slow motion. When you add stylistic idiocy out of the Matrix like that, you totally undermine the whole point of what Watchmen is about.
Yes,
it's supposed to be about. Yes, we have a guy like Dr. Manhattan who on the one hand is very unreal, but everybody else is just a schlub with, no, they're not perfect beings. They're not capable of really scaling walls. They can't do any kind of stuff that Batman can do. They're humans walking around with silly clothes and Halloween costumes.
Only Dr. Manhattan that has
he's the only
powers,
everybody else is, everyone else is just they're just people, and they can't do all this kind of silly stuff that's in comics. It's the whole point of his story. Was a show
Night Owl. Like Night Owl, not being able to do things that the original Night Owl would be able to do.
But in this movie, he's running around like Batman. He's flying to the air.
I know, but I love Malin Ackerman in that movie, though. When that scene in the prison, I know. That scene is a great scene. I hear you.
It makes the movie lose all of its gravitas. The story lose all of its gravitas. Now, the opening credits are fantastic. I love that with the Bob Dylan song. And that's a great.
There's a lot good about that movie too. The Watchmen, as much as
there is. Look, it's a fun movie.
The TV series.
It's not supposed to be fun though. It's not supposed to be fun.
No, I know, but that's the problem. It's supposed to be a dark, depressing.
Agreed, Lisa.
Reflection of.
Look, all this said, I still have a guilty pleasure liking it. I like because Jackie Earle Haley's great. By the way, Patrick Wilson is fantastic as Dan Dreberg too. I'm a Watchmen fanatic. You got to understand my fanaticism about Watchmen. For like the first 30 something years of his existence, or 25 year, whatever it is, when the movie took 23 years to come out, I must have read the comic once or twice a year. Before that, I had it.
Yes,
I could name you every single inch of that comic, the real one. And I bought every single one. And back when there wasn't a lot of merch coming out, I bought every scintilla of merchandise. I
You had some of the
cosplayed.
figures too, right? Yeah.
I cosplayed Rorschach in 1986 at Dallas Fantasy Fair when only 2 issues of the comic had come out. No, it's not a graphic novel; it's a comic book, folks. And that's how nuts I was for Watchmen. So when this movie came out, you knew I was going to be brutal. And it's funny, Hungry Boy. There was not one. This book is so big, whether you like Watchmen or not. This book is so influential and so huge. There was not one person in 2009 that in the comics industry that didn't have something to say about this movie, that didn't go see it. Everybody who worked in comics, who had something to do with comics, I don't know if they were all Watchmen fans, but they were Watchmen interested, and everybody had something to say about that movie when it came out. I know it didn't do super box office wise, but the comics industry was on fire talking about it, and it meant something.
Oh, it was massive. It was massive.
It was massive.
Yeah, I remember the first time I read it, I had bought the trade paperback, and I was on vacation. And my wife said, "Could you put that down?" I'm like, "No, I can't stop reading it." Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, it was perfect to read on the
amazing.
beach, but then it's like,
Yeah.
I'm reading it during like lunch and stuff. It's like, put that away for a few minutes. Yeah,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
recommended it to normies and people who had done literature courses in university, and they were utterly astounded by it. They said, for good or ill, because Clobby I don't need to repeat what Clobby has said, because he's been saying this stuff, and rightfully so, and he's been saying it eloquently and perfectly for over a decade. It did, for good or ill, it changed the way comic books were perceived for the rest of the world. And I had people who thought, I thought comic books were Donald Duck and Superman and capes, and I did not understand that comic books could be like this. This story, they said, is conceptually, with what it represents to the way humanity can be manipulated and psychology between individual people can be manipulated, is scarier than Stephen King. And I thought, well, that's a credit to Mr. Moore. That's a credit to Mr. Moore, and he did the right thing. But it had the wrong effect long term, but in the short term, it was a boon to the industry, because we never would have had the television news shows talking about how much money comic books were making and how comic books are so different, and talking about sequential art. And we can go into, the Killing Joke, and we can go into Frank Miller. But I really think The Watchmen was what cemented that in the mind of the public, at least for a brief amount of time, thinking this is actually an art form in and of itself.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
It made the Time Magazine's top 100 most influential pieces of literature of the 20th century.
Yes.
It and Mouse are the only 2 comic book related things, or graphic literature pieces that did. It's a wonderful piece of work. Although Moore's not wrong, it probably did a lot of damage. It did more damage than it was worth. Now that you wouldn't hear my 25, 30, 40, even 40-year-old self say that, but my pushing 60 self says it. Even though I still love it, I do understand. And like Lisa says, watched it 3 times. Now I'm going to watch it again. Hell, I'll probably watch it again soon, Lisa. I mean, it's still a watchable. There's still a lot of great stuff in there, for sure. So but he popcorned it, just like V for Vendetta, same deal.
Popcorned it.
He popcorned it.
Good line, yeah.
In the
God bless you, Call
the Wachowski siblings. The Wachowski siblings kind of popcorned V for Vendetta too, but that almost unfilmable.
Well, I agree with that, because that was another thing that I bought the individual issues, because when you live where I live, and we're going to stop referring to my nationality, because it makes no difference. And you and I spoke about this behind the scenes when we were doing the Raquel stuff, Clobby. So you know how I feel about that. I like to be anonymous and just fit in. You know what I mean?
Good night, Steve. By the way, good night.
Good night, Steve. Thank you.
Have fun storming the castle.
Yep.
The whole thing with that was where I live, we were getting the individual issues, and I was able to collect them very easily because of the British connection. And I was sharing those with my academic friends in university and my academic family. Some of my family is blue collar, some of it's academic, and they were just astounded by it. But the one thing I will say is we all hated the art. We all bloody well
like
hated
Dave
the
Lloyd.
art. No, can't stand it.
Wow.
I'm a heathen. I'm a pagan with that. Can't stand it.
No problem. That's not the. I
but-
liked it okay, but I hear you. I like.
Well, you focus on the storytelling as it facilitates the story, and I look at the
Yes.
finishing, the execution. I like to look at things as a something as it would hang in a gallery by itself.
It's better in black and white too, though, because it was originally in black and white, the
agree.
original. Yeah.
I agree. But I did share it with people, and they adored it, and they would come back to me 3 years later and say, you know, I'm not a comic book person. I understood this is what you wanted to do with your career, but I revisited this work and it is incredibly powerful, especially if you actually know a lot of British history, going back to the 1600s and going all the way up into the 60s, and the way that politics were being manipulated for the public in the 60s in London and other areas of Britain. And Britain means, of course, colonies as well as everything else. And they're taking into account Orwellian theory. They're taking into account all this stuff. And they said, the movie just wasn't all that. The movie just wasn't all that. It was
Pretty
a nice
entertaining,
movie.
but yeah.
It was visually beautiful, they said. We
Right.
understand it was visually beautiful, but it did not have the length and breadth of societal and cultural impact and historical
Right.
understanding that the comic book series had.
No, it didn't. And again, the thing about this book was, I first started reading it in Warrior magazine, which Mark has the first issue of.
Right.
Yeah.
He found it. He unearthed
First
that.
3 I
So
found in my basement. I forgot I had them. It was
it
a
was
good
in
find.
that. See, it was in that for a while, and then it never finished. And then when Alan Moore started getting popular, obviously with Watchmen and a few other things, like Killing Joke and stuff, DC got a hold of it, and they reprinted it. So the first, if you have the comic book, the regular issues you're talking about, the first 8 or 9 or so, those are reprints of the Warrior stuff.
Yeah.
And then then because it was not finished, and then Moore went ahead and I think it was still with Lloyd, if I'm not mistaken, finished. So the last couple of issues of that were added on, done way later.
And
then of course, then you have the trade paperback. Yeah, and then of course it went into trade paperback and stuff. So, but
the
it's
writing
never
style
that's never
changed
my
a
that's
little
not my favorite Alan Moore stuff either. I mean, it's good, but
But I
And,
respect it. It's not my favorite
I
stuff
respect
either.
it. Yeah.
I mean, I respect it, and I think it should be considered top 5 Alan Moore stuff. But all I was bringing up was, and you already said it, I don't think it is translatable into a film for a sit-down theater experience. It might in the future be translatable into a 15-part television series at an hour a pop, but I wouldn't want them to try it because
I wouldn't want them to do it now. Woo! Good
no,
God.
I would say it's going to take. I don't want to sound like neurotic or other people, and also I'm much closer to the Raquel camp in a lot of issues. But I recognize, because I was there when certain people started getting into comic books, if it takes 15 years to get people out, it's going to take 15 years to get people out.
I love my boy Garrett Neurotic, so I don't mind sounding like him myself. But we don't agree, not we or anything. But I mean, I just don't think they should bother. Nothing. Well, now we live in a time where I want nothing adapted. But yeah, it's not. Look, I don't even know if it would make my top 10 or even 20 Alan Moore works. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't love it that much.
Well, how did you feel about the first 18 issues of his Swamp Thing?
Oh, I mean, I love that book for a couple. I even read it all the way till the end. In fact, I think it was good for even past that. And it wasn't, but its best was its first year or two. And then when you get that Swamp Thing annual number 2, which he did, which is one of the scariest, damn creepy comics ever. Dr. Manhattan's, let's see what Lisa says. Dr. Manhattan's creeping to oblivion and holding on to reality. I appreciated it in the movie. It was very well done. No question about that, Lisa. And it is it's a, like I say, I don't have the big Uber version anymore with the Lisa. Did you watch the theatrical? Did you watch the director's cut or the big, what do they call it, for lack of a better term, Uber edition that has all the black freighter stuff in it, which is weird, by the way. It's pretty interesting the way they did that, but it is that makes it like what, 4 hours or something, Mark?
3.5 hours. Yeah, I bought that when it came out. I love watching that version. Yeah, and all the special features, and it does work a lot.
Lisa, you're a delight.
I'm not sure what the normie version is. I guess it
the
means
best people here. I mean, we really have the best people, and we'll keep talking comic books. But sometimes do you agree? It's not It's not shilling. It's not sucking up. If people are
No.
wonderful in the chat, is it not okay to just say people are wonderful in the chat?
Ultimate edition. Yeah. Oh,
I mean-
Lisa's amazing. I mean, we love having Lisa here. Lisa's a new friend. I hope you will always come back and hang with us, Lisa.
And everybody. I mean, Jeebus. I've been seeing Jeebus here for over
Jeebus.
a year.
Oh yeah, the
Shooter's
colonizer.
magnificent. Matthew Pounder. I love it when Matthew and I encounter each other in the chat because we've got that kind of Brit angle. Because despite the accent, you grow up. One funny thing about Australia when it comes to comic books and television and films is we've got a tiny population compared to most other people. Okay, so a lot of times we can't make our own.
Entirely populated by criminals.
Screw you. But it's actually not true. It's not true, but that's the blood that counts. Okay, that's what formed our parliament. So I'll give you that one, Clammeister.
Yeah, we'll get Raquel to watch that movie someday.
I get you. I have so many great Australian films that you, Mark, would love. I mean, you've probably seen Turkey Shoot. Raquel's never going to see Turkey Shoot. I forbid Raquel from seeing Turkey Shoot. She is never going to see that film ever.
Who's Nikki, Lisa? Who's Nikki? I don't know who Nikki is. Nikki stream with Clobby. But I would stream with I'd stream with anybody, Lisa. So clearly, because look at these guys. So
yeah. Look at us.
Yeah. But you always inspire me, Hungry Boy. I'm finally gonna go ahead and do. We did a bit. Carlos and I did a. Oh, Nikki. Oh, okay. Yeah, my buddy Nick. All right. I'm silly. I'm old and senile, Lisa. Thank you. DJ Ronnie G. What's up, buddy?
Hello.
I'm finally gonna do my top 10, maybe top 20 Alan Moore works in order. Rank my list. Right. A list show another list show of mine that no one will care about, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Well, we were speaking about Batman the other day, and one of my favorite moments in Swamp Thing and Batman, I think you can guess where I'm going here because it's Swamp Thing, and it was illustrated by Total Bond, not pencils by Bissett, just Total Bond. Oh,
right. I love that issue.
God, that was one of the most influential pieces of art, not just comic art, influential pieces of art I ever encountered. Yeah. And when you have that splash page of Swampy being as big as a Kirby kaiju giant monster from 1959, stomping through Gotham, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Great comment. I mean, Moore did it. Even toward the end when people thought he got kind of not quite as good. He did some crazy stuff when he went to when he went to Ran. When he went to, did some Adam Strange stuff and some Thanagar stuff. Arabic Sundar. He said Watchmen had a Snyder vibe to it. Well, he did direct the movies. He vibed it all right. But yeah, I like the Swamp Thing Superman story, says Colonizer Jeebus. That was from DC Comics Presents number 83, I believe, or whatever.
I have a joke for you, Clobby, because remember when I was being asked about inking about an hour and a half ago?
Yep.
Imagine if Swamp Thing, penciled by Steve Bissett, had been inked by Tom Sutton.
Dude, stop it. Tom Sutton was too busy ruining Star Trek comics. Watch it, and we're gonna start spreading a rumor that you Hungry Boy were really who not Vince Clemente.
Tom Sutton is still alive. I could be Tom Sutton for all you know.
Now you could be, but and if you were, I love your work, by the way, Tom. But if you're Tom Mandrake, however, no, just kidding.
Hey,
Mandrake's okay. I'm just kidding.
He's better than okay, but for you, it's your show. I back up.
You know why? My only problem with Mandrake was, look, I loved Grimjack, and he took over for Timmy Truman, and I just like Truman's work on Grimjack better.
No, I understand that. I understand that completely. I do understand that completely.
He was good on Spectre, but Mandrake was Mandrake's a good artist. I mean, no question about it.
And very creative with the layout. Very wild with the line work. And sometimes he did add too many lines. But overall, I mean, his Spectre stuff, yes, I did like the Grimjack stuff. I liked a lot of first comic stuff. But, however, the Spectre stuff was what really won my heart for Mandrake as an artist.
Don't look at the screen. Don't look at the chat.
I see it.
Don't look at the chat, Mr. Perlin.
No, no one's allowed to guess. Yep.
I'm going to make a joke that Matthew Pounder will get, but you guys won't. Okay? Matthew Pounder, you dirty 5-pound palm.
That
He'll
sounds like
get
a
that joke.
Britishy joke to me. That sounds really Britishy to me, you dying limeys.
You EastEnders loving mother. Burp, 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 burp.
Hey, I met Perlin. Well, saw Perlin at the Dragon Con one year.
And I do respect Perlin. I just can't stand what he did to
him.
Ghost Rider. That's all. It's just,
I don't
and
like
I know he was old and the deadlines. I get it. I
Right.
totally get it. And I have done between you and me and the Wall and Mark. Okay. And I know nobody's listening. We're not on a live stream or anything, but I've done it. I've done at least 50 pages that I've burned because the deadline was bad. I burned them.
Look, it's a job, man. But look, for example, I couldn't stand Perlin on Defenders, and I didn't like him on when I loved the early Valiant years, but I couldn't stand him on Eternal Warrior. I thought it was awful, and it was a really good story, but the art, I mean.
But that brings us back to Jim Shooter. You know, Shooter gets crap for getting rid of Colin, and then he brings back Perlin. It's almost like, hey, see, I like the old guy.
Well, he's a big defender of Coletta, so.
If we start talking about Shooter, this is going to go on for another hour. So
No,
I'd
we're
rather
not
go
gonna
back
do
to Coletta.
Yeah, no, we're gonna close it up in here. In a fact, we can start closing it up right now. Hungry Boy, do you have any closing words as your? And we want to thank you, by the way, and your stellar stepping in like at like a good second string quarterback. Filling in for, or maybe once I'm the quarterback, I guess that means you have to be like.
Oh, you threw 4 touchdowns.
You're the running back, yeah. You're, for sitting in for Raquel like that on the clubhouse, unheard of, by the way. Only someone of your stature will be allowed to be on the clubhouse when Raquel's not here. Because other than that,
thank you very much. I only did it because the subject came up, and you know, you jokingly said, "Oh," so I had the microphone ready, but
I'm glad you did, brother. Appreciate you.
Well. The crowd was good. The crowd is appreciative. They are my fellow clobberers. And so I believe, unlike certain studios today and publications today and publishers today, in giving the fans the value for the money. And if they're going to spend their time with us, and if I can step in and improve their day a little bit, that's what a good artist does. That's what a real artist does. The real artist is the servant of the work. It is never, the work is merely a means for the artist to go another rung up the ladder. And even if you're streaming for free with other people, you have to be respectful to the people who love the art, whether that's sculpture, whether that's film, whether that's comic books or animation. You respect the people that respect the art.
Love it. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Mark?
And we talk about science fiction, you know, and I've been able to, it is such a joy because Raquel is such a joy and she's such a wonderment.
Yes, she is.
She's such a blessing that when I can introduce her to something and she's practically crying with appreciation over this film that she didn't know existed. And I think this is like what a good person does at Christmas. They didn't think they could get this present, but they open it up and they just have tears in their eyes. And that's when you know the world is decent, that people still care. And that's what it's about.
Yes, sir. Well said. Thank you, man. Any closing words, Mark?
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad I could sneak on here at the end. And
thanks for hanging with us, man.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's always a great time here at the clubhouse. And it's awesome hanging out with you and Hungry Boy. And yeah, just what do we got coming up? I'll be definitely be doing Sunday Night Geekery this Sunday.
Cool.
And when's Thanksgiving? What do we got? Oh, that's next week.
A week
right?
from tonight, sir.
Week from tonight. Yeah.
Wow.
So
I guess I'm going to be on that night. Believe it or not.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to be on. I might be in turkey coma, but maybe if it's later, I might hop on.
But I'll still do it.
But Mark,
still do it. Well, but I'm going to do a deep fried turkey. Should I live stream my deep fried turkey?
Thanks a lot. I'm going to get fatter. I'm going to eat twice as much just looking at what you're cooking for people.
Wait a minute.
Mark, you have to remember we do have that retrospective coming up of Perlin inked by Coletta.
Wait a minute, Mark.
That'd be amazing.
What did you say you're going to be making?
A deep fried turkey.
Never that way.
God damn it, Mark! Jeez.
As long as I don't burn the house down, yeah.
You never did turducken though, did you?
I've never done a turducken. Never done a turducken, but my father-in-law's like the turkey's gonna be all greasy. We're not gonna like it. Jesus God, we're trying to get out of here, and he loved it.
Don't fool me, guys.
I do not like duck. Greasy, damn, gamey bird. I don't like.
It's not.
I like ducks as an animal.
So good.
All food
Okay.
conversations are to be transported to Mark's channel.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right. Show me the ribs, man. Show me the ribs
See?
and the
No
burgers.
one
That's
listens.
what I want.
I want to thank everybody for being here with us tonight. Thank everyone for supporting
Yes.
Raquel's wonderful book. She's gotten a few orders already. I hope she
Awesome.
gets some more. Thank you all so much. We're going to keep getting the word out there. Just
I am for friends and family
she's-
for Christmas.
there you go. There you go. What we got going on? So I'll be with Nick and the comic book guys, the comic book gang tomorrow night on the Nick's channel at 8:30 Central Standard Time. And of course, Saturday night Star Trek at 9 p.m. Central. Same Clubby channel, same track time, whatever the hell. Anyway, 4 more episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, yada. And then hanging out with Mark at the Geekery Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And then Monday is I got a double feature, a Clobberin Times Mark C Comics Talk double feature. I'm going to put you all in the insane asylum with the wacky world of Bob Haney, folks. The great J-Man is going to be joining me for a Clubby's Classic Comics Review. And if you read this comic at your own risk, or we're going to review this one. Welcome to the wacky world of Bob Haney.
I like it.
This is the craziest comic you're ever going to read, man. This is wacky bonkers.
124, if I'm reading it right.
Rainbow 124 from 1966. Yes, Bob Haney. Jim Aparo classic. It is to be. It's not to be believed. Even after we review it, you're still not going to believe it. You've been shown this, but we're going to review it anyway.
I mean, it's got Aparo art. It's kind of like if Sam Raimi went back in time and did acid and made a comic book out of Batman. So
right. Yes, indeed, sir. And then after that, that's an early one because J-Man has early hours. Then a little later, I'll do the normal Mark C Comics Talk where we'll do just a regular, do an open comics talk that night. And then next Wednesday night, the 23rd, the 59th anniversary of Doctor Who. I always do the Doctor Who special on that time of year. And this time, I've decided to rank all 12, and there are only 12, of the Doctor Who intro episodes. What is a Doctor Who intro episode? It's the episode that introduces us to a new Doctor.
Oh, that's a great idea to do. Wow.
Yes.
I'm going to put them in order because it's always special. If you're a Doctor Who fan, something about that episode that introduces you to a new Doctor. Whether it's the 11th Hour or Time in the Ronnie or Robot or Rose or Unearthly Child. These are the ones that introduce us to the Doctor. Very different from later episodes. So I thought I would rank them from, worst to first, I guess you could say. 12 of them, all of them. And
great idea. How much of the Unearthly Child does survives now? Can you watch that? Does it recreate
all of it? It's on archive.org.
Yeah, they didn't even have to rebuild that one. The one they had to rebuild was Power of the Daleks from Patrick Troughton, which they fixed, which they added some animation to.
Okay, that's the episode before. That's episode before. Yeah, okay.
I'm not going to rank Cushing. At Matthew Pound, I love you, brother, but Cushing doesn't count with the show.
And those
movies were cash grabs, by the way.
Yeah, and Clobby, there's only 12 hours on any clock.
That's right. I like that clock thing you made. That was very cool. Love it. The Doctor Who clock.
Nice.
Only 12 doctors. So
no, I did not make that. I merely commented on it.
Oh, well,
I don't take credit for anything I don't do.
I love it.
All I'm saying is there is not a 13th hour on the Doctor Who clock, and you know what I mean.
It's a fair cop. But society is to blame. I think I'll be charging them too. So yes, this is what what I'll be doing this for the Doctor Who anniversary. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this.
So many good episodes, and also to back you up,
and
it's so difficult to bring in a new Doctor and to structure the script around that because it was hard enough when Troughton came in, but then people were kind of like when Pertwee came in. Then when people were resistant to it, but then when people got used to it, they're expecting something good. And so when Tom Baker comes in, and you'll talk about this, how wonderful the robot episode was, And I also have respect for Spearhead from space. Then the expectations are going through the roof. So I'm really looking forward to your treatise, your exposition, and your academic knowledge, and your appreciation of these scripts and the way they were presented and the way they were acted. It's going to be a magnificent show.
Well, thank you.
And
Looking forward
anybody,
to it.
I mean, honestly, I rate your adoration, appreciation, and objective speaking about Doctor Who up there with The Prisoner and Blake 7. No joke.
Well, thank you about that. I thank you for that, but I can tell you this: there are going to be a couple episodes that will be higher than most fans. There's some episodes on here that a lot of people hate that I actually like, which might surprise you.
That'll be interesting.
That's kind of a thing with Doctor Who anyway, where there's some episodes, because I'm an ugly American, I never got the memo on that some of our wonderful British fans who are somewhat territorial about the show, and I mean that in a nice way, hate. Like, there's some episodes that I actually like Time in the Ronnie. I actually really love it. People think I've talked to some of my favorite Doctor Who commentators online. I think it's the worst thing ever. It's like, wow, I loved it, but whatever. I love Sylvester McCoy, even though there's a lot of bad ones. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Eric K, the Great Plaza Renters.
Says, I like Sylvester McCoy. I mean, dude, and also Colin Baker copped a lot of crap. Colin was a good doctor.
I love him. Yeah,
I'm in the Clobby camp.
And thank you. Eric says, Clobby always tells me no Dominion War. If Wesley was on DS9, he would have figured out a way to win it before it started. Thank you so much for that. And yes, that's true. That's true.
I will. I don't. You probably won't say this on the show, Clobby, on the special, but I might be the only person, possibly one other person, where I was just so relieved, and this is going to get me in trouble, when Peter Capaldi took over. So relieved by that point in the series.
Not me. I mean, I love the actor, but I was ready for a change. Yeah. But I love Matt Smith. I'm a big fan of Matt Smith.
I got to get my fish sticks and custard ready.
Yeah. Chips.
What a great opening! I'm spoiling it, but that was.
I love it.
That was fantastic.
It was wonderful.
That was so good. God.
Donnie Pearson. Let's see. Says the pre-Jodie era. Well, I don't know who Jodie is. Never heard of her. Is among them.
Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster.
Oh yeah, I love her. Is among the things I love best about Doctor Who. Likewise, the theme of look. One day we're going to talk more about that, even though you can't really play it on here. The Doctor Who theme for me is the greatest. If I were picking like all-time greatest TV show themes, I almost may have to put it at the top. And it's also the most versatile. There's so many different variations of it that are, and if you watch it, no matter what the variation, no matter how weird it is, it's still good. Yes. It's just great music. But let's see here. Yeah, but where was I?
Matthew Pounder, stop it. Stop it.
A lot of people don't like him. I love Colin Baker. So anyway, next year when we get to the 60th, I guess my special show next year will be about I'll do a show about the final the ending episodes. In other words, the top 12 episode endings. But the first episode of all these guys, of a Doctor, is always very different. Because it's introducing you to them. They're always kind of messed up. They're always finding their footing. And then by the end of the episode, they're kind of sort of set. And then the next episode after that is when you start getting to know, your new Doctor.
And it's a great challenge for the actors because they've got to kind of be presenting it. This happened. I think they first did it properly with Baker, where it's kind of they're stuck in a massive fever, which is boiling their brain, but it's also like they've suffered a massive blow to the head and they're confused and they have to find their feet. And it just makes the whole theatrical experience of it, the dramatic experience of it, so much more special.
Indeed, sir. So that will be next Wednesday night, folks. And then, of course, a week from tonight, the clubhouse will be open. I don't know who's here, but I will be. It'll be Thanksgiving night. We'll, hold that, as Blackadder says, all that tuck has been gold, and hopefully have a definite turkey coma, but I'll still be here for everyone. So, you know, 'cause they've already had Thanksgiving in Canada last month or whatever. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Really
you.
appreciate you. Gonna play you out with these credits and with these messages and credits. Have a wonderful remainder of your evening and have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much, my friends, including all of you wonderful friends. Not only who joined us in the chat and everyone, you know, the great Eric K, the great Chris Persia, the great D. Bud Martin, all of you wonderful friends who are new friends who popped in. Lisa, thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Appreciate all of you. We're not going to waste your time with shouting you all out and stuff. We usually do that on Saturday nights anyway. And I shouted everyone out on the way in. So everyone, take care. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. And I'm buying for time to get to my right spot. There we go.
Find the spot, right? Yep.
Good night, everybody.
It's clobbering time.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
If you perceive Alamarin, you'll come.
I just